Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show. Hope you guys are all having a great evening. I know I am. I had a really great day. I hope you guys all had the same. Hey, Raven, how you doing? Uh, I got some cool stuff in the mail today. I got some cool stuff done today. I got cool stuff for tomorrow. Uh, Probably won't make Connell's show, but if you guys haven't checked it out, go check out the Cigar DMs movie review. Predestination, I think, is the movie on tap, but I have some pressing business here at Casa de Shadow, so I will not be able to make it again. It's all top secret, hush hush stuff, so I can't really talk about it. But rest assured, when the time comes, I'll let you guys all know what I've been secretly working on in my underground bunker. I have got some miniatures done lately. You probably can't see this one. I'll show it off a little later once I've dry brushed it. But that's the Kraken from the Dungeons and Lasers Kickstarter. It was a beast to put together. Speaking of beasts, Justin, how the hell are you, brother?
I had to go get a shirt.
Yes, please. I think I say it from the bottom of all of the internet's heart. Thank you for doing that. Although, okay, now we can see you. It's like, whoa, you're wearing all black. You're pulling a Mr. Max. All we can see is the floating head. So what's happening? How you doing? How's your brother? More importantly,
He's doing okay. He was sitting up earlier, from what my mom was saying.
Okay, that's a good sign. Baby
He's
steps, man.
he's finding the subtlest of barbecue sauces to be spicy from a guy who loved hot sauce. That's
That's weird.
a little weird. Yeah.
That's a little weird, but like I said, baby steps. It's going to take some time for him to get back to normal.
Yeah.
I've seen some remarkable videos of people in similar situations, and if you don't give up, you get better. If you give up, you don't.
Yeah, that's always the case, man. That's always the
What's up,
case.
Mercurius? Absolutely, and Derek and Logan, thanks for stopping by so bloody early. Derek showed up at 3:27 Eastern time.
Oh.
Yeah, I had some extra time. I figured, what, I will put the notification up for the show a little early, and next thing I know, we had a freaking a room full of people wanting to start the show 3 hours early, but I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And of course, I never got that mythical nap. I had other stuff pop up just as I was getting comfy, and so.
Yeah, I started watching a 2019 Netflix show called Daybreaker.
I think I saw that.
Did you? It's about a guy. He's a high school student, and like there's an apocalypse, and only teenagers survive.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah,
I know the title does.
Yeah, there was a vampire movie with the same name from a decade earlier, at least a decade or two earlier. Yeah, so yeah.
I got those minis from North Star in the mail today. I got a bunch of cool stuff in the mail today, actually. That's weird.
Yeah, I gotta buy more plastic sets from North Star. That's what I was doing Thursday. I was clipping out all the extra pieces from the sprues and putting them into
No,
a
these are
container.
all metal. There's your Uncle A and metal
Oh,
form.
yeah, Robot Uncle A. I'm not a huge fan of Robot Uncle A in any of his incarnations.
But there's this guy right here is actually, I'm not sure who he's supposed to be. Big sort of
Um,
kingpin looking dude with a cigar.
the Chinese guy Mao.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's
I
supposed
thought
to be Mao.
that's who this guy was. No, I'm pretty sure who that's who this guy is because you can
Maybe
see
okay. If that's Mao, the other guy is supposed to be Stalin,
Churchill.
or
So
maybe Churchill.
he's
Uh,
bald
yeah,
with a
Churchill was
cigar.
bald.
But either way, it's just a small slice of what I got from them.
Well, unless it's
Relatively
supposed to
good
be the
chicken.
'80s, then it would be Borchov, or what's his fucking name?
Not really sure. It just says evil geniuses.
Okay, yeah. So
So
I
you
wouldn't
take that
call Churchill
however.
a genius.
Yeah,
He
I'm
was
going to paint
he
them.
was a trumped up soccer hooligan. Uh,
Does it say anything on the back about him? It just says bang, bang, kiss, kiss. I don't know what the frick that's supposed to mean, but
good movie.
no, I know, but I don't know
Or
how it
Kiss Kiss
applies
Bang
to.
Bang, the other way around.
I don't know how it applies to the miniatures inside. But I also got some Men in Black and some bikini babes with guns and some
That's
cowgirls
good.
and no, bodyguards and bikinis.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the way bodyguards should come attired. I think we can all agree to that.
that's how we played it in Conan.
And then yeah, Men in Black. But they came really quick, really cheap. You know
So
me, I like metal.
someone ever came back to the Conan fort with a male slave in tow, I'd yell at them. I don't care if he's a better smelter than the one we have. He's got a dick. He's got to go.
Yep.
Uh,
Gonna have to look at the pirates that they have next time, but that'll be next month. If then, I don't know. I got a lot of expenses coming up, so it was kind of like, hey, what's up, Cal? Long time no see, brother.
oh.
I
Hey,
also got,
give me a minute.
sure. I also got this in the mail today, folks. I mean, like almost perfect condition, dice, the whole bit. Uh, just just in time for me to peruse it and make my final decision on what is, excuse me, stretch, what is the best espionage role playing game of all time. And uh, I did a quick look through it, and I was pretty happy with some of the things I saw. But I'm not gonna give my final arbitration until the very end of the month, and we'll see. Uh, Anything could happen. Finally got your big order in from Otherworld Miniatures. I'm gonna have to go back and check them out as well if it's not too late. From what I hear, I saw some things I liked. I liked the big statue from the Player's Handbook, the idol that we got back here, Moloch. Not really Moloch. I know it looks
No.
like it was. I don't think it was meant to be that back then. Just coincidence, and if so, I'll take it out to the barbecue and light it up. But I did like.
Moloch is best represented by a bush on fire.
Okay, the uh, the metal version they had of it, I guess was 25 millimeter scale, and even then it still looked tiny. It would probably work out fine for 10 or 15 mil, but
No. The statue you got behind you is in scale for 20 mil or whatever.
28.
Not the Real Partheas were not 28 mil.
No, I meant the other world's miniature version of it.
Yeah. Oh
It's,
no,
it's only about this big. This
the
one,
one behind you is that's the scale it should be in.
yes, absolutely. And
Because if you look at the picture on the cover, the guy is kneeling on the cheek, prying the eye out with a knife.
yep, and that would be That would be a hell of a gem. Gotta
Yeah,
say,
it
that would
was
be.
a hell of a gem in the picture.
Yeah, I
You
wish they
got the
would have.
book right there beside you, so
Yeah, I wish they would have actually used a real one of those real costume jewelry gems
uh,
instead of just painted a piece of plastic. It looks like crap. If I can pry it out, if that's even a possibility, I'll just replace it with something that actually has facets and one of those rhinestones we've got hundreds of. Uh,
yeah, just paint behind it before you glue it in there.
well, they're usually chrome plated or silver paint behind them so that they sparkle and do all the things,
Yeah.
which that's what you want. You want
I
to.
would still recommend you paint behind it just in case you don't want to glue it in there and get like a big fucking plastic resiny spot at the side because you
Yeah, yeah,
didn't prep the surface.
yeah.
Always prep.
Definitely. Yeah, score it the whole bit. So what'd you do today, man?
You're looking at it.
Drinking Pepsi. Gotcha.
No,
Okay.
no, this is actually my first Pepsi today, but sitting in this chair, looking that way.
Oh, okay. See anything good on the internet?
No.
Yeah, never do. Never do. I've taken to the habit of watching funny dogs and animal videos just to like shut all the negativity out. And
Yeah.
it works. It's I'm not like all day or anything, but after so many just videos of news and gloom and doom, I'll be like, funny dogs. Okay,
Yeah, I
I'll do.
have to. I've taken to yelling. It's not good when you
I'm pretty
start
sure my
yelling, man.
next dog's going to be a golden retriever.
Mm.
They, although Chewy won't like that, but then again, maybe he'll come back as a golden retriever this time. It's funny. I had a dog a long time ago that looks exactly like Chewy. I
Well,
swear to
well,
God, they're the same dog.
I'm just judging by the smoke detector. Your dog's coming back as Tyrone.
Yeah, I did just hear it just now. It's weird. Jackie can never hear it though. I think it's
Yeah.
funny.
Well, it's been hearing the same noise since he was 3, so
Yeah, literally 3. That's true.
that's pathetic, man. You
No, I
couldn't have.
don't. It's only a recent thing. Uh, last
I
couple of years.
know. It's not even that old because it wasn't beeping when you started doing the Hungar show. It started a little after that.
Yeah, yeah. I
You
just
really got to get that thing fixed, man. That's not safe.
I've got other detectors all over the
It
place.
doesn't matter. They're strategically placed to give full coverage of the zone.
The only danger is when grandma's back in the house and cooking in the kitchen. Then there's a danger. Otherwise,
There is a danger to me fucking hearing a goddamn beep every time I talk to you, bro.
that kind of danger.
Eventually,
Yeah,
it's gonna drive me nuts, and I'm gonna come over there with a taser. And it's not gonna be a kind little 300-volt taser either.
hey, I've been tased before. To be honest, it's not pleasant, but it's survivable. And of course, I've been struck by lightning. So,
Yeah.
what's a little bit of electricity between friends, right? Um, the link has been sent out to the regulars. I don't know where they are, slacking as usual.
They're trying to save their hearing. um, no, I ever tell you when we were in high school, the game store, right? Game store, and then across was the shipping lane for a big, like, massive cheapo market. They call it Honest Ed's,
Okay.
and you could get up onto the roof of Honest Ed's, and like you there's the fire escape for like the game store we had, and there's the apartment above it, and so there's the fire escape. You get up, you can walk around. There's a big fucking thing with all the HVAC units on top, right?
Right.
And we had laser tag units with little capacitors, so every time you hit it, instead of the light going off, you get a jolt. Yeah, I still got a scar right here from where my tag was. And we would play laser tag on top of that fucking thing. No one lied about getting hit, though.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
one ever lied about getting
We
hit.
used to have a laser tag
Oh,
arena that you'd pay to go play at.
yeah,
That was a lot of fun, but I guarantee you, had they lit up like you're describing, there would have been
yeah.
a lot fewer customers. Back in the
Well,
day, though, when I was a kid, laser tag was called BB guns.
yeah, yeah. We thought about that, but the laser tag units, like there's a bunch of busted laser tag units in the thrift shop. So we put them back together, and that's when we were stupid and added the little zzz component to it. And then, that's definitely cheaper than BBs once you get that going, though.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
but BBs aren't that expensive. Hey, there you get to
Well,
speak.
it is. It isn't at first.
I'm afraid to ask what you're talking about there.
Laser
Uh,
tag.
yeah, but ours didn't have a light bulb. It had a capacitor voltage thing. Because one of our guys was a little tech head when I was in high school.
Oh, the horrors.
Oh, oh yeah. We were more worried about somebody getting a leg through the floor and getting into trouble from that.
Breaking the roof. Yeah, yeah, that would
Yeah,
definitely not
yeah.
bode well.
No, that building's not there anymore. Sadly, they tore it down and put up condos. Yeah.
I need to go get some more makeup brushes for dry brushing. Oh wait, this one will do.
Order them from Amazon, man.
I just get them from my local Dollar Tree.
I just steal them from my wife. That's all. She doesn't need them.
I thought you were divorced, bro.
No, I'm referring to Shadow.
Oh,
Oh no.
You get them from Shadow? Your wife? You just have the hair for it.
I'm just saying that Shadow just needs to steal them from his wife. It's like, honey, you're beautiful enough. You don't need any more.
They're going to be covered in makeup. No, it is funny though because I did get some weird looks when I first started buying them from the dollar store. Going in with long hair and a beard and buying a bunch of makeup brushes. The cashiers and of course Jackie's mom. Like, what the hell? They're for painting, and then I have to demonstrate. They're like, sure, and I'm like,
absolutely, yeah, it is. Sure.
Sure.
I could demonstrate right now, actually, because I'm gonna dry brush this.
Oh, he's going to demonstrate. Oh, he's going to demonstrate how to put on makeup. Okay.
Fuck that.
just a little blush, a little rouge.
Oh no! You know what? If you have to put on makeup to make yourself look attractive, maybe, just maybe. No, I'm just.
We call it fake up for a reason.
Yeah.
And I think who was it? Rush? Yeah, it was Rush. Had a really, really poignant song back in the day. Well, and I can't say
2112. It's a great song.
Which one?
2112.
Yeah, I was talking War Paint. I think it was called War Paint.
Yeah.
But
I was just fucking with you.
It is a great song, but I was going to say before they got all whiny and preachy, but then I, remember that, oh, wait, they were always like that, except their first album.
Well, 2112 wasn't whiny and preachy either.
Kind of on side 2.
Side 2, but who the fuck listens to side 2?
Oh, freaking Vital Signs, and there was a couple of songs I really liked on side 2.
Yeah. Who the fuck listens to side 2?
I do. Sometimes I would actually just play side 2 because it's like after a while, you can only listen to a concept album so many times. What's coming.
No, I listened to 2112 for 3 years straight.
Oh, really?
The one song. Well, the 23 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah, it's something like that. But see, there you go, folks. Dry Brushing,
great song.
It really was. They did a lot of great stuff, but after Moving Pictures, that's when it really got, okay, come on, guys, enough. I want to hear rock and roll. I don't want to hear your political point of view on anything,
Yeah.
You mean just like modern day?
Right. Well, I mean, they were. I can't even say they were. I can say Neil Peart. Actually, Neil Park is actually how you pronounce it according to him. People always pronounce it wrong. Then I respond with, "Then spell it properly, you jackass."
He can't. Because people won't let him.
He's dead. But he was a great drummer. But funny thing is I saw Golden Earring open for Rush for the Signals tour, and Golden Earring's drummer was better. Just saying. And he didn't need oxygen pumped into him so he could perform.
Oh, how old?
Don't get me wrong, Neil's great at what he did, but he wasn't the best. He was just,
He was mediocre.
No, he was better than that. Definitely. I'm not going to lie and say,
give me a minute.
The drummer for Guns N' Roses was better.
Fuck Guns N' Roses.
Thank you. Fuck them and the racist freaking horse they rode in on.
Yeah, what happened to all these people? They're like, "Oh yeah, I used to rebel," and now you're the biggest conformist around.
Yeah. So Jackie's away for the weekend. He'll be back tomorrow. So when the show's over, gonna invite some friends over, drink some beers, smoke some weed. Hopefully I can smell out of the house before they're gone. No, I'm actually hoping he's going to pop in Nuns and Roses. Never heard that one before. Although there is a band I actually hate more than Guns N' Roses called Leatherwolf. Probably nobody here's ever heard of it.
Well, that resolves that one.
Yeah, I had a friend who was in the hospital because he got all jacked up. It was weird. I had a dream about him the other night. I haven't seen him in 20 years. But he on his 16th birthday, his dad bought him a brand new truck. What does he do? He gets drunk, goes out, drives it, and he was literally driving, hanging out the window, and rolled it, and just completely just destroyed himself. Couldn't walk, couldn't talk. It took years for him to be able to, do some things. But while he was in the hospital in a coma, the drummer for Leatherwolf had something similar happen to him.
Yeah.
And while the band members went in to visit their friend, they stole my friend's mom's purse.
Oh, wow.
And nobody would do anything about it. The hospital's like, call the police or whatever. And she's this little frail old lady from Holland who, weighed about 90 pounds, and devastated. And they freaking, did the scummiest thing you can think of. She probably only had $8 in her purse to begin with,
Yeah, but it's the principle of it, and you know that as well, And that's what gets me.
And I was in many a band, and we did some shitty things, but I want to think nothing that shitty, but it's just like, God, just nice, Cal. Growing up, I wasn't a big Hagar fan until I got older, and started listening to Van Hagar. And I'm like, this guy isn't that bad, And then I looked into him, and I'm like, wow, this guy's pretty freaking smart. He was making money. I guess Hagar jeans are owned by him and crap like that. I could be wrong, you hear shit, but it's like I had a greater appreciation of his work much later in life. And that great song they did with the Blue Angels flying in the background. Of course, the Blue Angels, bunch of freaking pussies, freaking made them take it down. I'm like, fuck you. That was the best freaking promotion you guys ever had in your life. And you're going to freaking, make them not put it on MTV or wherever the hell it was. VH1.
Well, that's.
I still love the Blue Angels, but that was just like,
it's the government. Don't blame the Blue Angels. That's a decision made by
the. And the guys who were the pilots then are not the pilots now. And
but the pilots weren't the ones deciding that. I mean, that's the thing.
And every year they fly out here and we get a free show because
they need to,
Well, no, I mean, why pay for tickets so you can hear the announcer, spout some bullshit?
Yeah.
You don't care about. You're just looking at the planes doing amazing shit. That's all anybody needs from the Blue Angels. We don't need their freaking, propaganda or whatever the announcers, the spiel that he's supposed to say.
Well, most of that is it's just it's. I don't want to put this. That's just it's the usual. It's the military recruitment.
Yeah. Well, Jackie's gonna go into the Air Force probably, and he wants to fly. So,
good luck. I know it's really hard to get into that because it's very competitive.
Oh, sure. And
less than 2% of the Air Force actually flies. So,
yeah, but that's too much. What percentage of the Army flies? I mean,
probably more.
I don't think he's going in specifically.
No, not even close. Fly,
but I'd have to ask him because he's very tight-lipped about stuff. Like it's a big secret. I'm like,
he's probably got a better chance with the Marine Corps, actually.
There's no chance for him in the Marine Corps. He's too smart. He would get freaking drummed out so damn quick. He would not be able to,
You'd be surprised that.
It's not an intelligence thing. It's
yeah.
It's a keeping your mouth shut and just obeying thing. And he's already heard it from me. The whole. Hey, speaking of Marines, the whole they're just trying to break you down to build you back up.
Yeah.
And armed with that knowledge, he'd go in there and say that to him. Like, I know what you're doing, dude. You get smacked. What am I doing? Right.
No, they all know.
Trying to break us down to build us up, sir.
All know. There's nothing. There's nothing new.
Yeah.
No, I know, but he would be the dumbass who would say it to their face.
Yeah, they all do, man.
Yeah, they all know what it's there for, but you're not supposed to say stuff. It's just like my favorite was when some kid went over and went talking about his birthday. Like, you never, ever, ever tell them it's your birthday.
Oh God, no, you'll get a My Pretty Pony freaking.
He's like, what do I get for my birthday? And I was just like, I just shut up. I didn't let anyone know anything, And he's like, guess what you get? You get 100 push-ups. Happy birthday. And then, you got to keep doing push-ups while everyone's singing happy birthday. You're just like,
or better yet, or worse yet, the whole unit gets 100 push-ups and has to sing happy birthday. And then, when that's over, they're all going to take you and beat your ass when you're not looking. Freaking blanket party and freaking sack full of Pepsi cans.
Oh, no, it's always bars of soap. But, it's...
Look, it's the best battle mech ever.
What, a Highlander?
Yeah, it's a Highlander.
But there can only be one is the problem.
Trust me, when I'm done, there will be only one. Mine. I only need one. You can bring whatever the fuck you want.
Okay, my 18 Atlases are gonna make short work of that.
You know what? I don't need 18 Atlases. I just need an infiltration team to take out the mech pilots while they're outside their mechs. That's all I need.
Well,
congratulations.
Who leaves their Highlander?
You know what? What are you doing? Oh, we just took out a few of the. We just took out 2 of the engines of the dropship as they're coming down.
Whoa!
All right, folks. There he is.
Do you see the color this is painted? This is white. That means they take out the drop ships, not you.
That looks. It actually looks ivory or khaki, but
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, so yeah, move it in the correct place. Oh, okay.
that freaking thing. That was
yeah.
a pain in the ass to put all the tentacles just right, but you know what? I think it's worth it, and it comes with
That is definitely what you put down on the table when the party fails to stop the cultists.
a couple extras, and I think there's some more tentacles in one of the other boxes.
You just put a bunch of dwarves, that are trying to leave, and that's what they see.
I also have the Kraken from Wizards of the Coast, calamari, right? And this one blows it away. The other one may be bigger, but the detail is not so defined, and it's just, this was way more fun.
Hasbro's just gonna, Hasbro's gonna do the smart thing. We'll see if they actually do it. What they're gonna do is they're just gonna license someone else to make the minis, and they don't have to.
They've already done that.
They've done some of it, but the problem is they still put some of the stuff in house. You're like, guys, just act as an IP house and let other people that care about the IP do it.
Yeah, no, it goes to whoever does the highest bid, whether they care about it or not.
Yeah, and then it's the Larian.
Then the IP gets destroyed.
Well, I just heard that the Larian they're not going to do another one, and it's Hasbro, smart move. The people who love it, where the CEO actually wears plate armor,
Yeah, well, it was so successful. You're not going to award them another 2 contracts.
We're going to make sure that we charge them so much money, and like, oh, okay, so they won't make another game for you.
Yeah,
good job.
What the hell are you guys talking about?
The
Baldur's Gate 3.
Baldur's
Gate 3 made one of the. Everyone I've talked to said it's a fantastic game. It's a lot of fun. It gives you the real feel. It even rolls the dice and other stuff like that. And then you can do some really cool stuff in it. And so they made $100 million off of it. That's what Hasbro made, or something like that. And
all money in the bank.
And then Hasbro kind of said, you know what? Yeah, we want more of the profit. And then Larian basically said, no, we're not going to do another D&D game.
Which is the smart thing to say.
Yeah.
You want more of just handing us a piece of paper? So how about this?
Yeah.
Trust me, there's a lot of. It's not the old day where you had 10 guys in a room making a video game. Like, you got hundreds of people. Like,
oh yeah, probably the production's $100 million, and it takes 7 years. And they did that. And what I thought was funny is they said all the people that agreed to that in Hasbro are gone.
Yeah.
And so now the new people are just looking at like, well, how do I make more money? Like, how you make more money is you protect.
Agree to it again.
And then make it. Well, it's for D&D, they're like, oh, we don't do too much, guys. So we'll see. I've heard certain things, but we'll see how they do it. If they don't have a video game, they aren't making any real money, and they don't seem to understand that.
Now, people badmouth the idea of having an AI, right?
Yeah.
But I actually think that would be a great idea. You don't have to use it if you don't want to, but I would try it at least once. As a player.
Yeah. I don't see any real problems, but the problem that they're looking at it, and again, I've been listening to one of the guys who apparently Hasbro has put in $250 million into creating that VTT.
Well, that's a different thing, right?
No, that's where they're going to put the AI.
Yeah.
The idea is to allow what they want to do is they want to get players paying every month.
Yeah. Well. They create their own VTT.
They'll get it, but
means.
Still.
Yeah.
Well, you're looking at it as well. I wouldn't do that. That's fine, but a lot of people will. But you have to make a good VTT that works, and that's the question.
Yeah, I kind of I played in several games with them, and
like
I don't.
honestly, what I would want from a VTT, like a perfect one, would be like this program, but instead of like in squares, like triangle wedges where you could like focus the camera on your head. Like you draw a circle over where your head is on the frame, and it'll just put that there.
Oh,
Like,
so you just want to circle? So
well, no. Like so, and then it will focus the image there instead of like a big box taking up a bunch of the screen, and then put like a dice roller, and then like a whose turn is it highlight over your position on the thing, so you know who's in focus or whatever, right? So,
well, I mean, I've seen some,
or at least like make sure everyone's gone this round, kind of like at the beginning of every round they're all like blue, and then every time someone goes it changes colors or disappears or whatever.
well, I mean, if you're playing online, I have no problems with VTTs, but it takes a lot of back end work. Is the only
well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
The way I'm
seems
describing wouldn't require
Yeah,
that.
no. I mean,
all the ones
the
I've
DM.
played in, it seems like you
Yeah.
have to really spend a lot of time getting to know the system to make it work right. So you're not wasting the player's time.
Well, the DM's going to do that, and usually the players
That's what I
waste
mean.
enough
What the
time.
DM needs to do.
Yeah,
Building
Phase.
AT&T level 1. Yeah, a nerd's nerd. I am not selling any of my AT&T stock. In fact, I'm buying more for when the Starlink finally falls. I'll be right there with the word of Blake. They'll have to give me a seat in the bunker because I'll have financed
they're going to do what they normally do. Good luck. Bye. What?
I'll have financed Jerome's entire career.
It's like, well, everyone's like, well, I masterminded this and said, well, we'll see how much people really care.
Yeah,
there's always a Praetorian Guard. So yeah, it's. But we'll find out. But no, I mean, I've seen the VTTs. I'll try playing with one in May. Try and get some of the stuff. And really, I've noticed that some of the modules are there and things depending on what goes on. I want to do a little bit more for the maps. So it does the visual, but then it can also allow them to map it as well. And so you can do some of the line. So it's the trick is setting it up. Once it's set up, that's fine. But even at the basic level, you're just show me where how everyone's set up for the party, so no one's arguing. Okay.
Yeah. But that's like just
that's real basic.
Yeah.
It's just like map making software. It's great, but some of them, like Campaign Cartographer, is more like a CAD program.
Hold on a sec, guys. I'll be right back.
Yeah, it should never be more complex than a dumb fuck sitting at a box drawing a square or a line or whatever, right?
I'm not going to say that. There's some really cool maps out there, and
I mean like the ability to use them as a game like orchestrator,
sure,
a game master. Like you shouldn't have to require 3 months of fucking practice with the software to be able to put a door on a map.
Yeah. What that said is boy, when you can get it, when I've seen the people that do a good job with it, man, they look nice. So it's one of those things that, I agree with you. Sometimes just going, okay, just make it really easy. The old, like you were talking about, is just let me draw lines around.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. 300 feet by 300 feet or something. That's the only problem I do have. Some of them limits on how big the map is. Like, let me scroll around the map. But sometimes they'll do extra layers, which
like I have no problem if like I put a staircase in and I click the party down to that, just fucking make this stuff go away and put up another layer. Do that automatically. I shouldn't have to like think about it, right?
Yeah, well, some of them do that. I know.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why you start. Say, well, how much is my time worth? You know, people like, I'm not going to pay for a map. Then I realize, well, I can spend 4 hours doing this, or I can spend 5 minutes and $5.
Yeah.
Like, well, how much is my time worth it?
Well, that's the thing. If Hasbro's really smart, they'll keep the prices of things to nickel and dime levels, right? Like people are less hesitant to drop a buck on a map than 4 or 5, right?
Well,
there's the psychology of it's just $1.
Well, my guess is that they're going to do different skins. Oh, you're owlbear. You can have a black owlbear, a white owlbear, a brown owlbear.
Yeah, that's
or you can buy for, you can get, several different colors or whatever you want to do for the, for $10 and you get 20, or you can buy each one for $2, so.
Yeah. I don't know.
And I'm not really against it, but at the end of the day, some of it is. Sometimes I like the more abstract stuff because it doesn't interfere with my visualization.
Yeah.
The old saying of, pennies, nickels, and quarters. I had no problems doing it. I don't have to use every miniature. Whereas if you get a miniature, you're kind of locked into that miniature.
Yeah, it's a visualization thing. Yeah, I understand that. I don't think it's as bad as He Who Shall Not Be Named says, where you can't visualize your character sitting because he's holding a bow in the model. That's just dumb.
No. I mean, so we'll find out what it is. And, the big thing with the AI is that they said the problem was there aren't enough dungeon masters.
Yeah. I don't think there's enough dungeon masters. I think there's too much toxicity in the cultivated D&D community that the people like the people that play it now just don't want to take the risk of being canceled or whatever they call it.
Well, that's only online. I know at home. The thing is that Twitter and YouTube that's not the real world for how most people go through it.
Say it isn't so.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I like to believe that with like it's the case with our generation and of course the slightly older people and the much older people like Shadow. But the Zoomers, no, they're a lot of them are bought in. Like even the ones who are rebelling are bought in on that kind of crap. So,
well, I mean, it's I don't know. I look at it. I look at the people who are actually there, and the ones that I see actually play are very different. I mean, now you can look over and like, oh, you still look like you're in 1980s punk rock, except now you're complete conformist. But
yeah, well, that's the thing. I was watching this thing about the cyberpunk game.
Yeah.
Right. The new one. And
which one? 2077, or are you talking about
the video game? The new one.
2077. Yeah.
And that was the biggest problem the guy had, because I never played it and I'm not really interested with the video game. Was everybody was dressed that way? There were no punks, right? Like,
yeah.
When I played the tabletop game 20 years ago. Well, 24 now. Every pedestrian was described as being some corporate drone or some barely fed homeless person, right?
Prolies and stuff like that.
Yeah, like I expect people to be walking around the streets in jumpsuits and McDonald's uniforms.
That's called paranoia.
No, like I'm talking like the average citizen in the cyberpunk world. I expect them to be either in suits because they're corporates, in jumpsuits because their clothes are provided by the company, or they're wearing a corporate uniform because their clothes are provided by the company. The only people that wouldn't be dressed like that would be the actual punks, because that wouldn't be the normal person in that kind of world.
Oh, see, I think exactly the opposite, which is we give you your uniform, but we want you to consume and buy whatever you can get. So we're going to make sure that you look like you're a rebel. You got to wear your. So,
Yeah,
Maybe.
well,
I just don't think that the normal person would be dressed like a 1980s punk. I think the people rebelling against that society would be.
well, I think it's more of a lot of posers.
Yeah.
That's the way I really look at it.
Well,
Yeah, I
but
tried
that's
to run a cyberpunk game, but I just couldn't get anybody into it back in the day. And
Mhm.
It's one of those, to be fair, some of it is. It's not that I like sci-fi in certain cases, but let's be honest, the sci-fi I want to play is more of the 1970s/50s kind of sci-fi, not. Though I have played Shadowrun, but not the dystopian everything that's like it now. It gets tiring after a certain.
yeah,
point.
we've already got it.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
Yeah, I like more the literary space opera genre,
Yeah.
like the even the contemporary stuff where it's still, maybe there's some political intrigue or something, but
Sure.
there's like people in starships going places and doing stuff.
Yes. I mean, basically, Firefly, Buck Roger, the
Yeah.
I mentioned
Flash
Firefly,
Gordon. Those
Buck
are the
Rogers,
yeah.
Mando Cody, all the old crap that is just, it's amazing, especially like Flash Gordon. There is so much that's been taken from it or that you could still take from. Hey, what's up,
Mhm.
James? I like pineapple
Yeah.
too. We got 2 pineapples today, so one's mine and the boys can fight over the other one.
Reasonable.
But yeah, I mean that's
You want to
the
pop
way.
in, James? I'll drop you the link, brother.
Mm-hmm.
I know you said you were going to be kind of busy and stuff, but
But I mean, I was looking
we're
through.
all friends here.
So I got this book, and actually I need to go through Buy the Axe also. But I got the Barbarian Conqueror, for Adventure Conqueror King, and they have the
Sweet.
Terran Cosmonaut in the back, and so it has
What?
it has more of the feel for the Buck Rogers stuff. And I was like,
Wait. Adventure Conquer King has sci-fi.
They have a book that allows you to do the sci-fi.
Really?
Yeah, so like right.
So I could do like some Warlord action from DC Comics.
Oh,
Yeah.
you ever watched that made for TV? Like it was supposed to be a pilot, but they turned it into a movie. Warlords from wait, what was it called?
Yeah, so in this one they have like energy fields. It's basically this is so they can do the Gamma World. See right there. Yeah.
Wow,
And of
that's
course,
genius.
well,
Unexpected.
he did it for the heroic fantasy, and then after the heroic fantasy, he said same time he's going to do the barbarian. I was like, oh, okay, I'll grab it. So of course you have, and they're all very similar, but
Warlord.
like the what are they called for this? They have the Terran Cosmonaut, which is basically your Buck Rogers, and then they got the Terran Starman, which is from like the 23rd century, rather than so.
Really?
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, you get a plasma pistol, 2 energy crystals, some Wonder Meals, some glow sticks, the multi-tool, environmental suit. Yeah, I mean, you can do
That
a
sounds
Gamma
fun.
World stuff.
That sounds a lot of fun. I'm going to be reviewing the original Gamma World all next month. I forget where I left off last year, but there's so much good stuff in there.
Yeah, actually, it's from the original Axe, but he's been every few years he updates it, and it's pretty easy to just take the stuff that. One thing I do like what he does is when he creates a character class, he shows them how he built it using the rules for building things, for classes.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, okay. So it's like, oh, okay, this is how you can determine your experience points and your some of the other stuff. It's like, oh, and I like that. I like the fact where it's not, well, yeah, there's a couple times he says, yeah, okay, we fudged it a little bit on this one just because it seems more cool that way. But I have another book that I got. We'll see.
The rule of cool exists for a reason, folks.
Yeah. Just don't use it to like totally abuse the game, and it's okay with me. Yeah, there was a made for TV movie that was supposed to be a pilot for a series that was released originally under the title The Warlord Battle Beyond the Galaxy or Battle for the Galaxy, but then was re-released as the Osiris Chronicles.
Really?
Yeah, and I recommend watching it. It's from '98. It would have been really good if they turned that into a series.
So this was the other one, which was
okay.
By this axe, which is basically gives you, which he says, okay, let's figure out why dwarves are certain ways, and so he backtracked some of them and said, okay, what are they doing? Why do they like axes? Because they like to chop down wood, so they can use that for their forges and for their mushroom farms. And like, well, why are dwarves so much fat? It's like because they're used to eating like 20 pounds of mushrooms every day. And he says, he said because mushrooms don't have a lot of calories, so they're used to eating a prodigious amount of that. Whereas he said, when you eat human food, it has a bunch of calories in a small area. So they're like, it's kind of interesting for that. And so he's got a bunch of different classes in there, and he shows again how they're built, and I really enjoy that.
I could really get into playing a warlord type character from the comics in like maybe a Chalt kind of setting.
Yeah.
It's something better than your traditional standard, European freaking medieval.
I mean, the thing is why people like that
a million times before.
Yeah, but people like it because it's familiar. They feel like they understand the setting. They know what's going on. That's the hard part of any sci-fi is you have to get the buy-in, and if people aren't familiar with the IP, it makes it a lot harder to get into it.
Well, yeah, like I was just mentioning. I don't know if you heard Omanal, the movie Warlord Battle for the Galaxy. It's from '98. It was a made-for-TV movie.
I heard it. I never saw it. And considering how much TV I watched, I don't know how I missed it.
It starred the guy from My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Oh, okay.
Never saw it.
No.
Oh, what was
you mean also the guy from Northern Exposure?
Yeah, the radio, okay. The radio host or the DJ, whatever. Yeah, that guy.
Not the doctor.
Not the doctor. Not the doctor.
No, not the doctor.
He was jockey.
Who the heck was that?
Oh, what was his name? John? Was it John?
Well, the other thing that they give them is they also give automatons for the dwarves, and
John Corbett. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's interesting for the whole thing. Like if you wanted to create a giant, I don't want to say almost a golem kind of thing, you can do that in there. I was like, oh, this is cool.
But, exactly, James. I want to shake things up. I know I'm not alone, but I'm also not in the majority of people who've played every permutation you can think of the traditional medieval Europe world. It at some point those worlds have to evolve. They have to change. It becomes
Well,
something, unique as opposed to, you know, familiar. I don't want familiar. That's the whole thing. I want to, be oohed and awed over a brand new world that's nothing like I've ever imagined, or at least, it's got some new twists.
well, that's one of the reasons why I'm not a huge fan of playing the same campaign for eons, right?
Sure.
Like,
You know what? It's like everything else. It's okay. Let's do this. Let's do that.
I prefer a break from a campaign than to just try to hurry up and finish it up to go into a new thing. If people are, it's amazing. I was in this campaign for the better part of a year and a half, and the GM was the only one who wanted to move on. Oops, I need to charge this thing. Everybody else was like, no, let's keep going, and I'm like, yeah, I've only been here a year. They were there for I forget how long, and sometimes it takes a while to for everybody to not only just gel together, but to finally develop those long-term goals and be able to start reaching them, only to have the campaign pulled out from underneath them because the GM wants to do something different.
well, yeah. Well, I like it when the arc is completed. Then you play a different game for a while, and if you all want to come back to it, you go back to it. If you don't want to, you don't.
Yeah. I mean, that's I think the hard part is knowing when to
Getting
wrap
everybody
things
on the
up.
same page, because GM burnout is a thing. I've been there.
And that's what it sounds like was happening there.
But I mean, that happens a lot of times. It's not just
for this particular individual. He said he was just getting too hard to come up with challenges, and to that
And
I
that's
say
power creep.
it really wasn't a matter of that. The characters weren't really that powerful. We still made mistakes and got our asses handed to us from time to time. It was just more of that particular story was it had come to its conclusion. Awesome, but you know the characters themselves, especially in AD&D, where you work so hard to get to that point where you're allowed to build. When you finally get to build a stronghold or a tower, or build a guild and things like that, which in a lot of cases I get those things. Like if you've got a ranger who finally gets to a certain point, oh, maybe it's time for that ranger to run a solo game, or the fighter or the magic user. Those are all solo games, but you can still keep them kind of together, working on the same new kingdom or something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
those people just really don't want to do that. They just want to be the eternal adventurer and just go from dungeon to adventure to town and rinse and repeat. And
well,
Sometimes you gotta allow
it's
that.
going really well, Arman. Thanks for asking, and
if
welcome to the show. Long time no see, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
if you actually look at D&D and what they get, the cleric, the fighter, the magic user, and the thief don't overlap. So they can all build their strongholds in the exact same location. If you actually read it, it's the cleric has to build a temple.
Right, you incorporate the temple and the wizard's tower and the keep all into the thieves guild all into the same stretch of land. They're all working together, but clearly the fighter, he's the lord, because that's the way it works. The priest is the high priest. He's got his own dudes to work for him. You got the ranger and all his flunkies. To me, that sounds like an actual fun campaign. I almost want to start a group of players out as named levels. You know what I mean? Give them, here's a couple of magic items, here's some money, and go.
Well,
build your castle, build your temple, gather your thieves, and see what would happen without the burnout or without the long, this campaign has been going on forever. Start the campaign out in 10th level.
Well, this is where I think X does a good job. Is they have the downtime aspects that you're doing with the senatorial. The other thing I like about X is that they allow you to retrain your proficiencies about every 120 days. So you're when you're adventuring, you're looking at your combat, and then as you go up higher and higher in level, you're going to start phasing over to that domain play. And so at that point, all of a sudden you're going to start going, oh, I want to get the training for the manual of arms. I want to get the, so you start changing your stuff. So it's like, yes, in my youth, I was well known for doing this and cleaving through numerous goblins, but I'm older now, and you get that. I also like the.
But I could just
why goblins? Why not gnolls? Damn you!
I could just as easily see. It's like, okay, well, just give them more proficiencies. It's not going to kill the game if your fighters have or your characters have a bunch of proficiencies. Whoop-de freaking do. It's not like I can't either make them less useful. Just well, there's not going to be a lot of combat, or your men at arms, your flunkies, they need some action. So you kind of need to let them do some stuff, and you just watch from the sidelines. You're the king after all,
Well, that's the whole point of it. Is it's like you're not locked into it. So like if you look at, and I'm going by the raw D&D, not all the different changes. If you go by raw D&D, then you go, okay, got a proficiency. Is this useful? It's useful. My favorite's languages. Oh, look, guys, you get this language. Oh, yay. Great. I Goblin and Gnoll was really useful up until about 4th level. And now that's where I like the fact that it's like, okay, guess what? You can forget a language and learn a new one. You can do this and get that. I'm like, oh, okay. So
it's weird how sometimes our characters
I don't know.
Except in combat, how our characters are less skilled and versatile than real people. You know what I mean? Have you ever noticed that?
No, because they're not. The problem is that the game wasn't intended to have proficiencies. It was they added it on, and that gives the problem to it. Because we've run it
with games with proficiencies and skills. Like Traveler's a perfect example. Back in the day, I was rolling up characters, and I'm like, I'm not saying I got skills at level 5, you know what I mean? But I went through the book. It's like I got this, I got this, I got this, I got this, I got this. I would have to go into the Marine Corps for 16 years to get half of that.
Half the stuff I got in real life. Yeah.
Well, but in Traveler, your 0 is considered that you're proficient.
Uh-huh.
See, the problem is
because like there are stuff that if you're saying 0 is proficient, there's stuff I'd be -0 in real life, and other stuff that I'm proficient in that most people aren't. Like most people can't open a security door. I can.
But that's my point. Is that
it depends on how quiet I got to be.
But that's where
that's
level
what
0 comes in.
That's what the polo shirt's for, there, Shadow.
But see, the problem is that all too often people look at something and they're like, well, I have a level 3 skill. I'm like, no, you don't. People think people overrate on how good they
Sure, even just going by ones, though. Just going by ones,
Going by zeros. Going by zeros is proficient. So a lot of zeros you get in Traveler. The problem is a lot of people look at it. The thing I don't like is when you get something like medic. Your character seems to go up much faster than going in the game. That's the problem I have with Traveler. Like, why is my character going up faster when he's just doing his little thing? Where if I'm trying to increase my skill level, it goes up slower. That's the part of the issue I have with Traveler.
It did seem like what was it, like 6 weeks or something to get a skill?
6 months. If you actually read the book, it's 6 months to get a skill, and you don't get a lot of experience points. So You're
I thought it
when
was
you go
much less. Well, I know I'm going also by Mongooses
Memory.
version right now, the new version. It's much quicker.
no. I'm going by Mongoose's version. Go look at the companion book where it tells you how to get your skills. It's
I
much
was just
slower.
going by the base book where you just during your downtime, every so often you roll 2 dice and see if you get the skill.
Yeah, 6 months is what it's
Is it
starting
6
to do.
months? Really?
Yeah, it's
Really
6
much
months.
less.
No, it's and you go, okay.
What
And
the hell does that mean, James?
but that's a lot of what you're looking at it, and that's why one of the reasons I like it whenever we were doing that's why I said, okay, what's your profession? Not your class, what's your profession, which is what you did before you started becoming an adventurer. That's one aspect. And the other one that comes into it is, guys, just roll well below your stats. And I like that's what we do in the Yale Geeks game. Okay, if it seems like you'd have that skill, 3d6. If it doesn't seem like you have that skill, 4d6, or depending on how difficult it is. So I mean, those are just things to look at it. But then again, I think the problem is that all too often in a lot of these games is where they look at it as like, I have to have a skill of 6.
No, you don't. You're like the one guy in the galaxy.
That's why I like it whenever it starts telling you like where you rank in that. That's one of the reasons I like it.
That should be a kind of a given, The same with the percentile games. If you've got it, if you've got it out of this percentage, you're the equivalent of such and such. Which, to be honest, isn't. It's weird because I have a different outlook on percentage games. That certain things are harder and easier than the numbers we give them in game instances, like the chasing of the +1 in Pathfinder. 5%. You're only 5% better because of that +1. I mean, how would they even, be able to rate such things in those kind of worlds? They didn't have the idea of schooling and training. It's not like when you're, trying to pitch that fastball, just 1 mile an hour faster. You know what I mean? Because they've got the machines that can detect how fast you're throwing it and pushing yourself and like lifting weights. They didn't put okay, put 50 more pounds on the barbell. They didn't do stuff like that back then.
Well, see, the way I think that you should do it is that there should be a certain, when you look at your skill level, it suddenly starts becoming, certain tests start becoming trivial, which means you don't roll for them.
Sure. But
so if
the idea of training beyond a certain point was unheard of in the Middle Ages.
Well, it's people.
It wasn't super unheard of. It was done in different ways, right? Like your fitness routine might be like the Scottish had that log thing that was like an actual fitness routine, or you'd have fencing class, which would keep you in fit and like a fit form, which would allow you to breathe longer and stuff like that.
Well,
But
I mean,
it was like useless exercise that we do now. It was practical.
Well, yeah, it was functional. The whole point was to be functional. You look at stuff and like, oh, okay. And if anyone that's ever done some of those, you're like, why do I have muscles that are sore that I didn't even know existed? I mean, a perfect example is when I was going to dig holes with my son. I'm like, oh, I feel what's sore? I don't, it's like one little weird muscle because you're doing side to side, which you not normally do.
It's called getting old.
Well, no, I mean,
and I agree, Arman. It's so many games literally try to make you feel that way, that if you don't have the skill, you can't do it. That's bull crap. I mean, some things yes, some things no. You can try and start a fire, with 2 sticks. You might get lucky, but even preventing them from trying, people try that all the time, especially in wilderness survival situations. People come up with stuff, off the top of their head, just out of nowhere, because necessity being the mother of invention. you're going to try whatever it takes to get that fire started, or find a place to get out of the wind and the cold and stuff like that. Yeah, James.
It's like you guys were talking about Bo's game with GURPS. I think you were talking like I would classify skills into two categories: ones that need special education and ones that don't need education. And the ones that don't need education, you should get a free try on that. Maybe you get a massive penalty on it, but you can try it. Right.
Well,
Where things with education, like if you took the education, you should get that whole list of stuff. Like
Welcome
if
to the
you went
show,
to
very
medical
next week.
school, you shouldn't be denied the ability to apply a band-aid because you didn't specifically pick that perk.
Well,
Maybe brain surgery, but not.
Well, I'm going to bring up a good example for what you're talking about, which is certain things become trivial and others aren't. Learning how to sew someone up if they have a gash in their arm. It's like, well, I prefer someone that's trained, but it's not like the average person can't do it. They're just not going to. They're going to leave a nasty scar and some other stuff in there.
Yeah, they're not going to use the special stitch. Isn't because it's medically needed. It's because it's like an improved technique.
Yeah.
Before that special stitch was developed, it's got a name I don't remember nor care what it is. People would just do a normal fucking cross stitch like you would on a dress or whatever, and you just have that stupid cross stitch pattern on your arm.
But I mean, that's a lot of what I look at is when we talk about skills. Is this why I said certain things become trivial and others like, oh, if you have the skill, then this becomes trivial. And I wish they would do that. It's like you can make this level or this level. It's like, oh, okay, that's not a problem. All right, guys, if you have first aid, you know how to do CPR. Not a problem. Yeah. If you don't have it, then guess what? You're going to have. You can still do CPR, but you're not going to be as good at it. You'd have to have someone.
And when I went to the hospital, right, to get my nose done because the whole tip of my nose was ripped off. You can't even barely see the scar tissue.
Yeah. Well,
but they did stitches on the inside, and the person I was with was like, well, how are you going to remove those stitches? No, they just dissolve. And in the medieval ages, the ones that the stitches for the inside, those were intestine. They broke down in your body over time.
Yeah, the cat gut and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And James, when my mom was pregnant with me, she told me the doctors actually told her to smoke so she could keep the weight down. So,
well, it worked, but it has knock-on effects, right? Like,
well, we all know that
I tried. It just makes me want a cigarette even more.
Wait a minute. We all know that Shadow's mother smoked while she was pregnant, and that it stunted his growth. What we don't realize is he's only this tall in real life.
Yeah.
This is all just one big giant Barbie house.
That's right.
Yeah, that's why he can't reach the smoke detector. It's not because he needs a ladder. It's because he needs a ladder to get to the ladder steps.
He has a grapple gun that shoots off like.
Just to go each run on the ladder.
I need a yeah. He's like, I don't want to hear anything from that gnome player. No. But no, I think
the gnome would be tall enough to reach the smoke detector.
Fucking James.
But yeah, no, I mean those are the things that I look at, and I think that's part of the things that we have to break apart. But I always hated it when it was like, well, this is a -20. I'd much rather them say, guess what? It's a -20 if you have one, skill point 1. But
no, I don't remember 10. That.
But it's a +10 if you have skill 2 or 3 or whatever. So all of a sudden, trivial things you don't have to worry about rolling. And I know that Kevin Sabita was going. The only time you're supposed to roll is if it's critical for whatever's going on. You shouldn't be rolling the rest of the time.
Yeah, it's just although here's the thing, I have noticed, having read a bunch of newer games lately, that the designers seem to believe that the more die rolling, the better the game. And I'm like, That's really not the case.
I'm gonna. Even 5e says you're not supposed to roll unless it's a meaningful roll. The problem is that however people are growing up, they're like, it's like they're using it as a way of stalling. Go ahead and roll. Instead of saying, "Oh, you find it." Guess what? There's a key under the bed. You ask, "Well, I left up the bed," and they're like, "Okay, roll your search skill, or roll your perception." It's not. That's not the way the game's supposed to be played. Even says in the Dungeon Master's Guide, you're only supposed to roll if it's
under the bed. You don't find it.
Yeah,
the whole roll perception thing just irritates the crap out of me. It's like, no, what do you do? I'm not going to give it to you.
That's a bad DM. The bad
perception is for things that are hidden, not for things that are like in your perceivable sight.
Yeah.
Right? Like if there's a hidden compartment, you're looking for,
and you're looking right at it. That's when you do that.
It's like
to say, "Oh, I'm going to roll a perception check and see if I find anything." Well, where do you look? Don't leave it up to the dice.
Yeah.
Well,
I check the baseboards to see if there's a concealed compartment. Roll perception, and
actually, you're not supposed to roll perception.
I wouldn't even have you roll perception if that's where it was.
Yeah, you don't roll perception
unless it was like craftsman.
It's a hidden compartment, right?
No. But here's the thing: it says you're not supposed to roll if the players are doing that. Like if I say I search a room, okay, fine, that's supposed to take some time. Well, okay, guess what? That's going to take some time. Now, if you specify, hey guys, I'm going to look under the bed, and that's where they've hidden the key, then you say, okay, you find the key. It's one of those things that the
GM should literally on his write-up of the dungeon, let's say, he should say where the things are hidden, not just it's in the room. Well, where? It's taped under the chair. It's taped to the back of a drawer. If you don't look in any of those places, you're not going to find it. I'm not just going to give it to you because you say, I want to roll a perception check.
No. Well, you say
you perceive you're wasting the GM's time.
Yeah, well, that's where I would differ from you because I agree with the more laxed the more laxed game form where you're not preparing so much. So the perception roll could be used to say yes or no if it's there or not.
If the players are
game masters, like I don't know if there's a hidden compartment in this room or not, right? You haven't planned one, but the player says, I'm going to look for a hidden compartment and gives you a specific place they're looking, and then they roll. If they succeed it, well, yes, they found one. If they didn't succeed one, there's none there.
Well, and I don't mind if someone says, hey, I'm searching the bookcase, and you're like, okay, go ahead and roll. I'll do a secret perception check. They don't have to. See, the thing is all too often the players are rolling and they know if they made it or not. And then it kind of ruins certain things. Depending on what you want to do. But that said is if you say, I grab the sconce and pull it down, or the players are saying, hey, I'm looking at the sconce that's up there, and guess what? That's what opens the secret door. You don't have to roll a perception check. Now, if they say, hey, I'm searching the wall to see if I can find something, okay, we'll roll at that. It depends on how detailed they want to be. And it just depends on how fast you want to be. I'm okay with that.
And like I said, how much detail you put in your dungeon notes. If you
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. If you haven't created dungeon notes, you're playing a free form game. You said walk into the room. They say they check the sconce for a secret door. Well, you don't know if there's one there or not as the game master, right? You haven't decided that yet. They roll, they found one. They failed that roll, they didn't find one. It makes the game as much spontaneous for you, the game master, if you play that way.
I suppose I just don't.
But it's just a different way of playing.
No, I get it.
And
if you're going in someplace, more than likely I've drawn it out.
Yeah.
Now, there are times when that's not the case. Admittedly, if the players decide, they're actually going to rob the place that they went shopping, kind of thing, and they've already taken out everybody in the shop, and now they're looking around like, oh crap, but I may still, build it in my head real quick because I can do that, which other people I find sometimes can't. And it just takes practice. If you find you're unable to do that, just believe it or not, 9 times out of 10, the players will never know that you're just making shit up. So whatever works for you.
That's why that role is useful to arbitrate that making things up, right?
I
But
can see that.
it's overused because, like, you shouldn't ask for that role if you already have the answer to the question.
Yes. Well, and this is the
If
problem.
you don't have the answer to the question, then it's a useful thing.
Well, the problem that I have with a lot of it is that player. It's whoever this new generation is. Now, this is the newer generation, but if we're talking about the people that have grown up with 5e, where they think that you have to roll and that you can somehow succeed automatically and go, well, you know what? One roll, even if you were doing it, you have to look at like combat almost. Is guess what? One roll usually doesn't determine combat if you're fighting a dragon. The same thing if you're trying to seduce the king or the princess. Guess what? It's not one roll. It's going to take 40 or 50 rolls, and it might take
welcome to the show, Jerry.
months or years for that.
Yeah, well, you can't just like walk into a room, stand at the doorway, and say, "I roll for perception." Like, okay, you perceive that this is a room. That's the answer to getting a 100% on that. You perceive that this is a room.
That meat pie there, James. By the way, breaking news: James L is eating a meat pie. Sounds
is
good.
That what it's calling it?
I had 2 hot dogs, sans bread for dinner, and I'm starving.
I had like a pizza thing, like a home baked. Like we had those square breads you can get there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Put the pizza sauce and cheese on that. Pepperoni.
But I mean, I think there's so many things out there that the way that the players can go
the cheese
for skills. Just like I did not like the fact that this is one of the reasons I liked Forbidden Lands and how they do their skills. Skills are useful. But the other part I don't like about a lot of them, and I know that Shadow's talking about, well, you just give them more proficiencies. That's fine, but I still remember getting a DM that let me have 20 proficiencies at first level, in D&D. And the things like, oh, can I get herbalism? Yeah, okay, that seems reasonable. Oh, can I get fire building? Yeah, you're kind of a barbarian. That makes sense. And then by the end of it, like, haha. And I think that was the problem too often, is I want to call it you're slicing the bologna pretty thin. Because I think skills are better used as a broad aspect. And it's okay, you have a specialty within that.
Well, that's why I like if you have like the life path kind of thing, where you get a lot of like the basic stuff just from, like, I understand like the farmer, the woodsman, the barbarian, those kinds of like people are going to get fire starting as a basic. The fop, the prince's son, he's going to get, where's the nearest servant?
Carousing, he's going to get dancing. I mean, believe it or not, that's part of it. Dancing, calligraphy, reading, writing. There's certain etiquette, diplomacy. Those are skills that they have to learn. And if they are incompetent at those, then that's the problem of when we argue with James about monarchy. It's like, no, that's why I don't believe in monarchy. I much prefer. I said it's one thing to have a leader, but that's different than a monarchy, which is hereditary. But it's those are things that I agree with. That was the other part is that if you're going to make players use up valuable proficiencies, make sure the proficiency is valuable. That's the other thing that I look at. From a game perspective,
it's like I've mentioned the novel series Prince Roger or The Empire of Man a few times on this show.
Okay,
it's under both those titles. It's about like a future monarchy thing in the future, right?
Yeah.
And it's about the foppish son who ends up becoming king because nobody paid attention to anything he did, and they got stranded out in the middle of nowhere, and stuff happens, right? In case you ever want to like get the audiobook, which I highly recommend you.
What's the name of the book again?
If you're on Audible, you do Audible, right?
No, I don't.
The author is David Weber. So
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll find it under
Please,
that. Prince Roger or the what does it say? Empire of Man.
Okay.
Either or, because they re-released it under the other title during one of the omnibus releases or whatever. You know how they do that with novels. But yeah, I always regretted that they didn't continue that series, because at the end of it, they just leave it as like the barbarian emperor, right? Because he's so dysfunctional in those specific traits that everything falls to war at the end, right? And it's just kind of brushed over at the end of the book series. But yeah, that's what happens when you have a hereditary monarchy. Is one of the pleasantries falls, and now you've got war on all fronts.
Well, you get someone like King Charles that we have currently. You're just like, I mean,
well,
no. I mean,
their monarchy's only a fucking figurehead. So
well,
saying that now is just like.
Well, it was true even back then. There were a lot of monarchs that were pretty incompetent, and they just got from hereditary, and that's there's long histories of that, and sometimes they get their head chopped off and they get replaced. It's but unfortunately, it takes things to get really bad to go there, and I think that's part of it. Is there's just like I heard, of course, we're mentioning a couple of things about this, but I don't know if you were familiar, but in the 1800s, early 1900s, the aristocracy in England was marrying wealthy industrialist daughters. The wealthy industrialists, their daughters were marrying those guys. That's how you got Winston Churchill, because they didn't know how to handle money. They were nearly broke. So while they had hereditary lands, they didn't know how to actually make any money. And so they would marry the daughters, and of course, there's a nice dowry with that.
Churchill drank all his money away and ended up having to take out massive loans.
Thanks for the sub, son.
And that's one of the major reasons why they did World War II. Like, fuck, man. Guy is a real enemy of history, man.
Who is?
Churchill.
You mean an enemy from history? Or an enemy to history?
All of the above.
Okay.
Like, just the more you look into the guy, the more you look into that guy, the more you wonder how many people died because that guy just owed too much money to too many people.
Well, you know what? That applies to all of them, except not for the money. I mean, whether you look at Hitler or Stalin, you're just like, because there's too much ego involved. Yeah. It's like, look, there's a certain point we need to know how to pull out. I mean, we can see it in the modern day too.
Well,
you look at them, it's like, guys, you don't defend something you can't defend well. You pull back. It's if you're going to do a war of maneuver, you do a war of maneuver. You don't sit there and get stuck in place, and then you just allow a meat grinder to go on.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of these people lived in very, very different times than we do now. We're kind of spoiled with the way we look at one another. Back in the old days, people had their place, so to speak, and folks didn't really appreciate that, rights and things like that, like we do today. I think.
Well, a lot of that occurred just because a lot of people could flee the monarchy and come over to the Americas.
Gary, find me on Discord and send it to me.
Yeah, I mean, so they can do a lot of that for Americas as well. Yeah, so it's, but like I said, that's one of the reasons I like reading about acts is they have the pages determining on how much you make per mile and how many families you are there and what you have to do to protect the families and which I'm like, oh, okay. And then of course he was even talking about in certain cases you have 3 levels. You got the king level, you got the conqueror level, and you get the adventurer level. And naturally, especially if if the characters are getting older, it's like, look, you know what? I have several wounds. I have, my knees ache. I'm going to let the younger people go out, but I know how to rule. I know how to, raise an army. I have earned my place. It's like, oh, okay. And I think that's the thing that comes into it. And, that's why whenever I see this, oh, I'm going to become king. Yes, you are. But if you ever noticed, a lot of them, it's like, well, I wish I was back off into war instead of trying to deal with, the Senate.
Crazy. James, yes. The best way to look at Churchill is that he was a drunk, loudmouth soccer hooligan and easily manipulated. That's all he was.
Most are pretty easy to manipulate by just feeding them certain information.
All people are manipulable if you know what buttons to push, and if you spend the time, the money, and the resources to get a really accurate dossier on somebody, which has been done since God knows when.
But from what I've been able to discern, Churchill's dossier was give him a bottle of scotch and a hooker.
That works for me.
And you don't even have to blackmail him with it. You just have to come back next week with another one.
Well, I was looking at Mountbatten, and I don't understand why in the world he was getting so much credit for it, because I didn't think he was very good at anything, honestly. The one that got killed by the IRA.
Yeah.
Because you look at some of the stuff, like, oh, well, to be fair,
I don't know shit about Churchill, so you guys are on your own.
Well, remember, some of this may come back to the feeling from Justin and Dieppe. Was it Dieppe? The one where they sent the Canadians to pretty much screwed them?
Yeah, no. Yeah, they did that to us a lot, but no, I'm not. I don't base my feelings specifically on any battle.
Well, Churchill also was Gallipoli. That was the other one.
Yeah.
There's.
He had no problem putting anybody into a meat grinder, even his own countrymen. So, I judge him on that front, as a blanket. He was like a new war gamer who just threw troops into slaughter regardless of tactic wherever he went. The more dead people on his own side is just the same as dead people on the other side as far as his war record is concerned.
I can see that with World War I. I'm not so sure about World War II.
Even in World War II, man.
I know,
and not even military personnel. He would do it to civilians. They make a whole grade about him letting civilians get killed. That's his greatest crowning achievement, is letting civilians get killed. So,
I'm talking about the Enigma.
Yeah.
Well,
and that story is blown out of proportion. But that's what happens when you still live on 80-year-old propaganda. Anything else would have been cleared up. Any other piece of history would have been record set straight within 15 years, let alone 80.
Well, that's not true, because people still think with Stalin.
Well,
it's like, guys,
I'll be right back.
Yeah.
That's just like Che Guevara. If you actually heard about Che Guevara, it's It's like you might want to go back and re-review. But then people are like, oh, I have that on my front. I said, oh, okay.
Yeah, the shirt. I did that. I was at a protest once, and the news was on the other side, and the reporter was standing right next to the person in a Shake a Vera shirt, and I started quoting them to her. And I pointed to this guy. He's wearing a Shake a Vera shirt. And I pulled out some quotes on my phone and started reading them to her. And then she's like, "Oh," but didn't switch sides because left wing politics.
Well, you know what?
Oh.
There's a reason the Bolivians didn't. And he was mad at the Bolivians because they didn't care.
Yeah.
It's. But well, so much has to do with the romanticism than the reality.
Yeah, well, it's always that. It's always
the same thing
romanticism.
applies to FDR.
FDR. Well, FDR took so there were a lot of good actual, regardless of how you feel about the Third Reich, there were a lot of good actual social programs that were developed, like the 40-hour work week and paid vacation, a lot of labor stuff we take for granted that came out of the Third Reich. And I note that because what was that? Huey Long adapted a lot of his political platform around the parts that were worth taking from that. And all FDR did was take that platform and water it down and make it a graft program.
Holy shit! I step away, and what did I walk into?
Yeah,
I thought we were going to talk about games tonight.
Well, in this case, unlike Thursday, I did not start this conversation.
You started when you started knocking Churchill. No,
okay, maybe I did.
No, it's
funny when I can say
I got a real simple.
It's funny when I can say I didn't start it this time.
A real simple.
Maybe I did start
philosophy. I will never know the truth about history, so I don't bother. It's just an exercise of who's lying the most and the best, and I just don't have time for it. I'm 57 years old. I've made it this far without needing to know most of the crap.
Who are you kidding, man?
And
you trying to tell us you're only
57 centuries.
Okay. That sounds more accurate.
No. It's but no, those well, he doesn't talk about history. I like looking at history and a lot more of the details. I mean, stuff. One is it makes the games more interesting, and when some of the stuff you go, well, that would never happen, but it did happen at this time frame at this area.
Well, for me, it's knowing when people are using history to lie and to manipulate
James
current events, especially since I have to write reports on it for work all the time. So
no, we'll sign out
now.
Mm-hmm.
But no, but again, that's the whole point of why I like doing the. If you can be running a game for that, is I like the fact that they have systems. Like I said, I'm looking. The more I read into Acts, the more that I like what he's doing with it. The problem is it's 600 pages, of which about 200 or 300 pages of that is the how do I call that? It's the domain stuff.
Yeah.
The rest of the rules are pretty easy to understand. And you're like, oh, okay. So it's about the first, 400. He gives you, and then the basically what he calls the judge's guide, which is the dungeon master's guide. He gives you how to create spells and how they were, and he goes back and he says, okay, this is how magic.
See you later, Armin.
Yep. This is how this one was done.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons I like to look at that. It's like, oh, you want to create a spell? Okay, well, here are your limitations, and
I like that. I like that. Well, I like Morkborg, and the thing I really like about it, we were talking earlier about dice rolls, is when you select your stats, right? They're clearly delineated. Each one has marked next to it the type of thing it's used for. Where
Yeah.
sometimes it's left vague in other systems.
Sure.
But also the number is always static when you roll. So when you're asked to roll, you don't need to like ask what you're rolling for or what number you need to reach. It's always the same for everything.
Which is what your attribute?
Sort of like on a D20, it's 12 plus whatever your attribute number is.
Okay.
So whatever your number is plus whatever the number on the die has to reach 12 unless
Okay.
specifically stated otherwise.
Yeah.
So like if you're poisoned or something, then
Sure.
there'll be a thing for that, or maybe it's a super boss and you get a +2 on that or whatever, right?
Well, that was one thing I was looking at with.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you're aware, but the most common number reached on a D20 is 11.
10.5, but 10 or 11.
No, it's actually statistically balanced to 11.
Take care, Arm.
It's marginally more higher for some reason. I don't know. They've done.
I don't know how you can do that. It's 1 plus 20 divided by 2 gives you 10.5.
It's the statistic is it will land on 11 more often than it'll land on 10.
Well, it's 50-50 is what it's supposed to be. It's 11 has a 50% chance of success or failure.
Okay, but
real quick, nerds, it's really a matter of what can I do about it.
Yeah. Well,
without getting myself on another list, I got to take care of my family first and all that other stuff. If there's time for it, I'll take care of it. But again, what can I actually do? And I'm more worried about the future than the past, always.
Well, the thing with the same thing you're answering is all those things are used to manipulate things that are being done now, right? Like you're not allowed to have a secure border because Nazis. You're not allowed to have healthcare because of Nazis. You're not allowed to have a decent education system because of Nazis.
There's some of that, but I don't think that's entirely.
No. Here's what it comes down to.
There's more agendas going on.
Literally 2 months ago, your director of Homeland Security or whatever was brought before a committee to be asked about the border, and his response was, "My parents were in Auschwitz." The first words out of his mouth were, "My parents were in Auschwitz."
But Justin, this is a 40-year-old thing. It changed. They just use a new excuse every time. My whole point of really going for the history of things.
There's bad guys on every side, and to be honest, most sides are made up of bad guys, people who want to be in those positions. So I don't trust any of them. And
here's the reason I look at history.
I just don't have the time to go digging in the past. I want to, I'll dig into the right now. I'll look into people's, current backgrounds and current, histories and tendencies, and make my decisions based on that. And for the most part, a lot of these ideas are for other people, not me. I've got my own agenda and my own path, and I know I'm surrounded by history guys who love talking about history. I'm not one of those guys. I'm not a history guy. Growing up in where I did, we had literally the same history book in class freaking almost every year. Throughout high school, it was the same year, and we would stop before we got to World War II and then go back next year and we'd start back at the beginning again. And so that for me was just like, that's boring. And it was many years before there was a history channel or even a library that was accessible.
The Hitler channel.
It was definitely called that. And
when the History Channel was doing the Real West, that was really interesting. I don't know. Did you ever watch that?
I didn't watch a lot of the History Channel.
You didn't watch the Real West?
TV.
No, because if we're going to talk about history and get away from all the politics stuff, the Real West was quite interesting because they were talking about sometimes there's personalities, sometimes the way
Mhm.
things worked back then. And this is what I, ignoring the modern history, which is part of the problem of why people don't want to play sci-fi or the spy stuff, because they don't want to have to deal with that modern history. But when you look back, it's like, oh, how did they actually treat wounds? How did they create certain colors? Like I was reading a book called A Perfect Red. Do you know what a state secret was for the Spanish? Was red. The dye color red. That was a state secret.
Yeah, because it was money, right? Like people wanted red, and it brought in money. It's like you ever hear of the story of Roman silk?
I haven't heard of Roman silk. No.
Yeah,
Are you talking about where they were getting it from China?
Okay, so back during the Roman Empire, right? There were trade routes with China for silk.
Yeah.
But the Chinese had like their fancy patterns, which is not very popular. Like, flat colors were popular in European countries, so that they would buy the silk from China,
and then unweave it.
They would unweave it. They would bring it back, unweave it, select the colored threads, put them into solid colored bundles or their own cultural patterns, and then some of the merchants would wear these like red silk tunics or blue silk tunics back to China, and the Chinese were enamored with it. So they would start buying bundles of solid color silk that was coming from China in the first place. But since the money was so lucrative, it was a secret, right? Don't tell them that we're doing this. So they thought they had silkworms in, and that was so secretive that
I've actually heard this
later, like during the British times, they thought that the Roman silkworms had gone extinct, when in fact they never existed in the first place.
So I mean, you get that. The other one is like,
yeah, I think I told you that story before, Shadow.
You might have.
I think I've heard it several times, but
yeah,
but there's
people to do some crazy things.
Well,
it's commerce, man. The river.
Well, there's
commerce.
that. Blue was another one. The other one was purple, and
Purple.
This is the thing that all the time that we look at is, okay, well, who did what, who did this. I'm like, okay, fine, we can argue about a lot of that stuff, but people forget artists. Today our artists like, oh, I'm doing this. Yes, but Michelangelo had to create his own paints. That's the thing that people forget about, and so and that was a trade
and would make money off of that.
Right? Oh yeah,
like there's this little thing that, like, I tell struggling artists this all the time, because I know quite a few. I'm in a collective or two over here. What are you doing to provide income for your art besides, like
what you create?
being an asshole? Yeah, like what material function are you providing? It's like, oh, I would never be a sellout. Michelangelo, do you consider him a sellout? Do you consider Leonardo da Vinci a sellout? Do you consider the classics of the old world sellouts?
And many of those guys were considered, we joke about Renaissance men. They had multiple skills. You didn't just do that. You also had engineering. Part of it was military, doing fortifications and things like that. It's not just one versus another.
Not all of them. And you don't have to go that extreme, right? Just like, don't.
Well, they dabbled in a lot of different areas so they could make money. It was,
the side hustle has been a thing forever. Whoa.
Yeah, it's like, especially now with the AI, it's like that's a revolutionary thing in the arts field. It's been centuries since there's been a truly revolutionary thing in the arts field. You're either going to learn that and profit from it, or you're gonna bitch and moan. What side do you want to be on? The bitching and moaning side? Because that side always loses. Just go ask the Luddites how that went for them during the industrial period. There are many Luddite colonies anymore. Even the fucking Amish have technology.
Well, the other part that comes, the Luddites were about, but even for that is And there were
They,
there were legitimate
they were
complaints.
stopping.
Well, there were legitimate complaints. That's part of the. If you look at the huge numbers of people that got pushed off of their land,
Mm-hmm.
during the Industrial Revolution for some of that. That's the other part too. Is it's the when he's talking about this. You got to suffer for certain things. You have to live real world experience. I've heard that writers tend to peak around in their 50s, and I think some of it is because they have the world experience to actually make their characters believable.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's why I'm always going on about actually hiking and paying attention to what it looks like to be in the wilderness. Not just when it comes to the survival and prepping stuff we do.
I mean,
you'd be amazed how many people have never, been out in the quote unquote wilderness, and yet, will run their players through, endless hex crawls without taking the time to know what it would be like to be in a real hex crawl.
You come back to me when you've been in a tent in the middle of a Canadian winter in the forest because you were a Boy Scout and they required you to get a winter camping badge.
Well, there's the other part too, which is people forget the seasons. Like right now, where I am, the blue bonnets and Indian paintbrushes are in full display, so they're absolutely beautiful. But a lot of times, how many times do you go over and talk about those things? Or hey, the changing of the seasons. We always talk about these domain level games, but winter was terrifying.
Yeah, that's why I stay out of it. That's why I live in the desert. Winter
that was
is
a 2-week camping trip.
Desert doesn't mean you don't get winter. It just means that now it just means that it's
cold and dry instead of blazing hot and dry. No, I get that. with one of my injuries, cold is just the worst freaking thing for me.
That
the other part is, and this again, when we're talking about certain parts of history, go look at how people were dressed during certain times and why they were dressed certain ways. Yep. My favorite is the explorers that found Tunguska in Russia. Right. Go look at how they're dressed. It looks like they're almost like Martians. Because there's so many mosquitoes, they have to protect themselves, and so you don't even see their faces.
Yeah.
West. Every article of clothing that the folks wore in the Old West was tailored for that specific environment. All the way down to the cowboy boots being designed specifically to fit in stirrups and things like that.
But there were other things too about that. We have to remember is a lot of the pictures we have of them were not of their normal workwear. It's their Sunday finest when they took those pictures. Whenever you see them sitting there, because they had gone up on the camp. When they'd done the kettle drive, when they were done, they spent their money on nice clothes, which was the Victorian fashion. So that's not what they wore every day. A lot of times when we look at those pictures.
Yep.
What I love is the tricorn hat. Like, do you know how a tricorn hat's worn?
Are you talking about the one like they always joke about Napoleon?
The bigger the point isn't in the front.
No,
yet we always see them with the.
It's off to the side.
Yeah.
The flat edge is on one side. The point is off to the other side. You know why? So you can get your rifle over your shoulder.
Makes sense.
There's even things like if you look at, which I always enjoyed watching, was the there's one lady where she was showing off of the fashion for the early 1900s, and she decided to do rock climbing in it, and she said, actually this is pretty useful. It was like, oh, okay. It was a lot of the clothes were more useful than people give them credit for. It's just like whenever they talk about corsets, there are different versions of corsets. There's the corset which we think in the modern era, but in the old day, it was like, okay, you didn't have a bra, but it still allowed the women to, have full movement. So
And also they over exaggerate. Like I've worn a
Yeah.
corset, like I've worn like a girdle, right? So
Yeah.
it's the same fucking thing. It's just
Was it of giant strength?
no.
Okay,
It's
just
just
making
a
sure.
normal.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, fucking they were just there like to give a figure, right? Like the constraint, like the idea that they would cut breathing like that's only in exaggerated incidences.
Yeah. No. I
Like
mean, but everyone wore it, including working women, and women
yeah,
had to go do all of those other chores, and it's like, oh, okay. The other problem is a lot of times
well,
is,
men wore them too, right? So like this,
well, yeah, a lot of it was to hide the gut, but I mean, for men it was more of a, and it depends on which social class you're looking at too,
yeah,
because like you're talking about with the constrictions of when they talk about that was for high fashion. That was not the average woman that was doing stuff, and that's the thing that it's like, okay, what are you wearing? That was one of the reasons I liked Modern History. I guess the guy has the I can't remember his name, but he does I think he owns Rebellion, and Judge Dredd. He goes
yeah,
out and does if you see, I subscribe to a lot of these, which I find a lot of fun, looking at weapons and things like that and how they perform. Um, and I like looking at medicine, like how would they remove an arrow, and they were using goose feathers. Um, things that we don't think of, but make a lot of sense once you've seen it. Um,
hmm
it's like, oh, okay. And those are, but I think that also makes it a little bit more believable if you're doing it. It's like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this. This was one of the things, and I hate saying this, is I know that when Bo was doing his stuff, he's like, well, how do you do it? I'm like, Bo, I'm not a doctor. I'm just playing
yeah,
one of the game. You tell me what I have to do for this, But he wanted like really detailed things. Like, well, at a certain point, you have to understand your players are not going to have the same skills that their characters do. Otherwise,
yeah.
we're just playing ourselves. Just like I don't expect people to go, oh, well, just because you're an astrophysicist in real life, that doesn't mean that you can track everything.
Yeah, it's like
Do calculus.
I'm not expect like if I was running a spy game, I wouldn't expect
Yeah.
you to even know what a PTE key is, let alone how to install one. Right? Like
Yeah, we
that's
shouldn't have to be experts on
yeah,
the character we want to play. That no one would ever be able to play, a wizard or a priest or a thief, for that matter, because you're not one of those. It's supposed to be a way to, pass the time, be entertained, socialize, and fantasize.
um yeah. I fucking hate PTE keys, by the way.
Okay, I don't know what that is, but
It's a little chip you put inside a card reader to steal card data.
trying to keep up with chat, but there's some weird shit going on there. I have no idea what Derry is talking about. But don't let that stop you from trying to explain yourself.
Let's see.
Oh. So you guys ready for tomorrow?
Sure.
Hey, what's up, Murray?
Here's the problem, though: is you got us over before we can get our level, so I can't get my spells. So, um,
Oh, thanks, Owen.
so it gives you something to read if you want to. Like I said, this is, I mean, that right there's 1,100 pages I basically sent you in 2 files.
What?
Yeah, you'll see when you open it.
All right, well, I'll have to open it on this device later because
Yeah,
my tablets
know.
are full to the brim.
I know. But no, some things I was talking about with Axe at the end. Some of the things that are in there, like for domain play.
It was part of it, Daryl or Derry. Sorry,
but no, there's. But like I said, it's when we talk about history, it's like what happened. Well, that's interesting, but normally we can kind of trace back, like, okay, where these technologies came in, or what happened in certain areas. And you're like, oh, okay, because some of them are like, well, whenever we talk about mysteries, or stories, it's like, well, yes, but that's what you do, and you throw it in your game in there. It's like, oh, okay. What's the real history? And that's where you modify it and change it to what you like. But I enjoy some of the weird stuff out there. And I think sometimes, though, I know that you always do your sci-fi stuff, but
I try, but there aren't a lot of takers for sci-fi games these days.
Well,
I was going to be in a Traveler game.
Yeah.
And not even me as the GM, and that was just talk. Most of the games I hear about these days, just wishful thinking for the most part. We all tend to bite up more than we can chew when it comes to planning or scheduling games.
Well, that's the hard part. You have to do it, and it's like, okay, that's one of the reasons I don't want to. That's why I don't schedule things on weekdays, because I know that I might be traveling. Like, I don't have time to do that.
Yeah, that's why I think Sunday was a really good pick for our game.
Sunday's fine. There's normally I even used to be when I do it is I'd set up a Sunday around noon, and we would play from like noon to 5, and we'd have a nice lunch and everything else in there. And it was an event, and then COVID hit, and then that broke apart the games. And that's the hard part, is getting something down. Once you get something down and you get people coming in every time, it's much easier.
Hey, we still did. Welcome to the show.
And we still did a bi-weekly game. And I think that's the other part too, is if you allow players to come drop in and
stop messaging me for the evening.
Who?
Is someone messaging you? Did I miss something?
Yeah, give me a minute.
All right. Well, anyway, Shadow, like I said, is you might enjoy that. This one.
I'll take a look at it. I still haven't read the old version all the way through. I read a lot of the original acts, and I liked some stuff I saw, but I didn't like it all.
No, you're never going to like everything. If you like everything, something's wrong with you. I mean, that's
never going to be said about me, that I like everything about it. Well, yeah.
Well, it's just
even my favorite band. I can name 3 songs by them that I just detest.
Oh, I know. But no, it's like most things. You take what you like, you modify it, and it's like otherwise we wouldn't have 1,000 different role-playing games. And to be fair, I can like multiple role-playing games which are completely different than each other because each one has its own unique feel and focus. I think trying to do one that does everything sets you up for failure.
Yeah.
Well, like you said with Morkborg. Morkborg's great for that,
Yeah, it's definitely. Well, you can tailor the rules for specific different games, and people do. Like it's a fairly simple system, so like obviously the simpler the system, the easier it is to diversify it. But
and modify it, and right off the bat, just understand it, where the author was going. I mean, back in the old days, games were so much simpler, and like all things, the more popular they get,
yeah, you lie. You lie. I don't know which games are simpler.
The original.
If you're not playing White Box, don't give me a D&D simpler.
I don't know. This game is like 120 pages, and 60 of them are a dungeon. And
I know. No. I'm making fun of him for saying the game.
Sliced my hand open, but the super glue prevented it. Nice.
No. I'm just making fun of him where he says the games were simpler back in the day, and I went, really? I remember playing Avalon Hill, and nowadays we have really the books have got.
But Avalon Hill games came out of the chute as complicated as they could make them, I think.
Yeah.
I was talking about what do you call it? The original D&D was incredibly simple, and it lasted that way for a good long time before people decided it needed to be a lot more complicated. Oh no, I did nick myself.
Yeah. Well, if you want, I can send you some super glue.
I've got like 8 bottles right here, and I did actually find some of that. What do you call it? New skin. That stuff's awesome.
No. Wait a minute. When was D&D simpler? Because I've read some of the old White Box.
Yeah, the original White Box, the 3-box set was much simpler.
I think that's a dud bottle.
Oh man, I gotta hold this fucking thing here all night. And super glue is no longer super. There, I said it.
Well, they had to change the recipe because of the Huffers, right?
Did they?
Did they? Are you sure?
I think that's what it was. I think it was all the teenagers.
No, I thought they used dry erase markers for that.
They had to change that. Whiteout and model glue, super glue, whiteout, dry erase markers. Yeah. For the longest time, you couldn't have liquid whiteout in hospitals because the fucking druggies would grab the bottle if they were sitting there.
Really?
That's why they invented the whiteout tape.
Did not know that.
Yeah. Things that our permissive drug culture has taken from us.
It's pretty weak.
Yeah.
That's okay. We got OxyContin out of it.
No thanks.
And carfentanil.
Hey, you gotta reduce the population somehow.
Yeah.
That is the apparent theme behind everything that I've noticed these days.
Yeah. Even the famous debate between that guy that wrote Population Bomb and the other one was just between lowering the population and whose population would get lowered. So it wasn't actually we don't need to lower the population.
But that wouldn't be very nice.
Yeah. But it was perfectly okay for that guy to suggest who he did. Fuck. You can look up who it was. I don't really give a shit. But We had to do a thing for that in college. No, high school. I did that in high
You
school.
talking about Malthus, or you're talking about the other one? Like,
what was the
70s?
Yeah. He wrote there was the one guy that wrote the book Population Bomb, and he had a famous debate with another guy that was basically just giving the same opinion back, but with a slight critique.
Well, see, my favorite was just
when you pay attention to the.
Yeah, but we had something well before that. It was called a modest proposal. You know. And how to reduce the
now.
Oh, you talk about the egg?
No, the modest proposal.
Oh.
I'm waving my finger at you.
Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to glue something together.
Well, that's what I've been doing all night.
Well, I'm glad you got the reference.
Trying to do two things at once is not my strong suit, I guess.
What do you guys think of this?
It looks like a salt shaker. What is it?
It's
like a miniature holder?
Yeah, it's a painting handle.
Okay, I never use those.
Okay. I designed this one, so I was wondering.
You know what? If it works,
I was wondering if I should put it out there.
I got to admit, I like Squirrel Hermit. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the one he uses. He uses the like spice bottles that you buy in a grocery store. He has different versions because they're pretty big, and some of them have that sort of beveled shape, kind of like a mini barbell. So you got something to hold on to. But then you can also use them to store junk inside them, like sand or gravel or flocking or whatever, toothpicks. I like that idea of it being more than just one thing.
Well, this is 3D printed, right? So
yeah, I figured that.
Yeah.
For me, it looks like I would need it to be like a little taller.
No,
my hand.
No, Justin, do you have your own 3D printer, or do you?
I have one,
else's?
but
okay, just curious.
I haven't used it in a while. I have to see if it still works. I gotta get a new one. But no. All you need is it to hold like that, right? So that's good. Right. That's all you need. But yeah, you can make it longer. But
I'm not a fan of not getting a full grip on things.
Yeah, I don't know. I think like there's a good like here, but the taller it is, the more likely it's to fall when you put it down.
Sure, I can see that.
That's why I went 2 fingers, a good grip, and then when you sit down on the table, it's got more like center of gravity is lower.
Mm-hmm. It's got a larger footprint to give it balance.
Well, it's not like top heavy, right? Like the
that is the one thing.
The higher it is, the more you can do the math. I don't know.
Fills his with gravel and sand, so that they're not top heavy. I guess
this is just
hollow.
Right through.
I've been painting for a long time, and the first time I saw those things, I'm like,
this is just 2 pieces. So, like this piece. Like I have a couple of different sizes of this. Mm-hmm. I have to redesign them because they're just slightly off. And then you put them in here and then twist it, and it pinches them together.
Okay.
So to me, those are more useful for airbrush paints.
No, it's good to not have your hand directly on the model when painting, so you're not smushing the paint around with your fingers.
No, I understand that, but I've seen them used a lot more for the airbrush because you want to spin it around, quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this doesn't have like a free rotating thing with the base. You have to like turn it in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you got this off of like if I put it up there because I haven't finished designing it yet. This is one of my prototypes. Once you got it, you can print as many as you want, right? So you wouldn't have to spend a fortune on buying fucking painting handles. But there are a bunch out there. I just the other ones I've seen out there are fucking trash. Require you to put springs and shit and things. And
Why would you need to do that? I don't know.
yeah, I don't know.
I don't know that
Over
anybody here would
engineering.
be interested in an encyclopedia set.
Encyclopedia.
I do. To be fair, I do keep some things just in case if we ever lose power. I still have something to reference. Plus, there's something to be said for a physical book in hand.
Yeah, even the look of them on the shelf, if they're a good copy, like
Sure.
a bound leather copy or whatever. Oh.
We used
No,
to
I
have
need
a
to read
pretty
more
nice
of this
set
stuff.
back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Super glue is so weak. And I found out that if you actually use an accelerator, while it will work faster, the bond is actually significantly weaker from using the accelerator. And Jackie loves this stuff. He is so impatient.
Yeah, it's more brittle, but worth it.
In certain situations.
Yeah. Tacking things, like especially weighted things, yeah, but then you use like a thin super glue after and capillary the material into the crack as a reinforcing.
Or like if I'm basing, I'll try to glue the mini down and the sand down at the same time because it does seem to make the whole process faster.
Yeah.
We were talking about that a while ago, I think.
Well, you know what?
I definitely put the mini on the base before the flock or whatever. You were saying, Omina?
No. When he was talking about super glue, I remember super gluing and then pulling some miniatures out a couple years later, and all of the bonds had broken. Just because you get to similar materials, it's going to break. So, like, oh man.
Yeah, well, I was talking to somebody a while ago about the old super glue or crazy glue commercials where the guy glues the hat to the I-beam and it would hold his weight. I'm like,
that's bullshit.
Even back then, that was bullshit. Yeah, it's not gonna.
Well, there's a couple things that have to do it. One is it has to be in 100%.
I was 2 feet tall.
No. It has to be completely in tension. It cannot have anything that goes. When they do it, notice it's directly down. It's not twisting side to side or anything else. It has to be 100% in tension. And if it's not, then it breaks very easily.
Yeah, it's a brittle material, super glue. I love this stuff. This is labels come off of it. This is Tamiya's. This is their thick gel plastic cement. Just because they were out of thin, and I don't mind the heavier body stuff, but you know how this stuff works. It melts the polystyrene.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, and then it evaporates and.
Yeah, I won't use super glue on plastic ever again.
Yeah, I had to with the last 5 guys I did a while back, but because I couldn't find this bottle, it was like on the shelf, but it was inside something stupid. But yeah, you put something down in the wrong place, you get what you get.
Yeah, that's why I brought everything up to the studio. I used to have things in the dining room, in the living room, in the garage, and now everything I immediately need is right here, and it makes a hell of a difference.
Yeah, I like I told you, I tore this space up, and I've never really finished putting it back together. Just kind of like that half of the room. That half of the room is like all boxes and shit. There's just a path over to the door. Very stupid. I really got to get down and fucking finish this crap. It's called being lazy, man.
It's funny. I'll be lazy at home, but if my friend's doing stuff, I'll do even more than that. It's like, oh, here, let's go do it together, and
Yeah.
it's funny.
Well, I spend all my day talking to you guys instead of doing the things I'm supposed to.
Yeah, I know. I need to go work out.
Yeah. That I definitely got to get onto.
Take care, Jerry.
Yeah.
Welcome to come back anytime. I'm
Yeah.
sorry I haven't been keeping up with the chat like normal, but I got some new things in the mail, and I'm getting distracted as per usual. Normally, I try to stick to one project, but I miss painting as much as I like assembling plastic model kits. Knowing that I've got enough plastic model kits to assemble for the next freaking year with more coming. And knowing that I told myself I wasn't going to paint any of them until I got them all assembled was a dumb thing to say because I've already almost finished painting the 6 or 7 that I assembled, and I don't want to. I want to actually get like at least the whole box assembled before I go on to painting. Because if I don't open the box, then it can sit there and wait. Without it being,
Yeah.
without feeling like I opened it. I better start putting it together. That's not going to work out the way I
The
would
way
like.
things are going.
Yeah. I've got what I really need to do is the next thing I need to do, I should say, is find a better storage solution for the thousands of minis that I'm saddled with.
Mm-hmm.
But I gotta say, I really do like these North Star miniatures.
Yeah, that's what these are. These are North Star Knolls that I'm doing right now.
I'm definitely gonna. Excuse me, guys. I'm definitely gonna look into the rest of their line, but I did a pretty good search through them, and there were a lot of things I'm like, yeah, I will never need those.
Yeah, I could see that. I like their plastic kits.
I didn't even see any plastic kits on the site.
Okay.
What line are they under?
These are the Frostgrave sets. So give me a minute and I'll pull up their website.
Because everything I picked up was from their Future Wars. I wasn't really looking at. I looked around here and there, different things, different categories, but
okay, so because they have a bunch of stuff for their Stargrave, like a bunch of mercenary groups and aliens and whatnot. I've got a piece that I'm trying to fiddle into position right now, so I don't want it to bond on one half and not the other. There we go. I'll screw the lid so I don't spill this. And open tabs. You said North Star, right?
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm gonna let you go.
Okay. Party on,
yeah, I'm gonna call it at the top of the hour and go do other things. I've got a lot of reading I've got to get to. I got the new James Bond game or the old James Bond game in the mail, and I'm going to be doing a review of that next week. And I got it for a song, and it's virtually in perfect shape. And I know I'll never play it, but I'm sure it'll be an interesting read. Maybe I'll break out some Bond movies over the weekend.
All 20 something of them.
My favorites. I'm not a Roger Moore fan at all. He was just so stiff. I just could not buy. Having been in the presence of certain kinds of people, acting the way he did would get you fucking killed. Excuse my French, but
oh, of course. But see, this is where we talk about reality versus.
It was a different time. I get that.
Yeah. No. I'm saying.
Even,
No. I'm saying there's the difference between reality versus what we do in a game. It's because you're like, oh, I want to have fun for stuff. So, but no, that's cool.
Okay. Can you see my cursor?
Yep.
Okay, so this is a plastic kit. This is a plastic kit. This is a plastic kit. These are all plastic kits here.
Okay.
For Stargrave, you get you get these.
That's cool.
I think it's this is the sprue, and you get I think 4 of these. Like this is one sprue, right, back and front. You get 4 of these in that box. If Stargrave was like Frostgrave, because that's what you get in like
so that's
this
what,
is
16 figures.
This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, so 20 in a box.
20 a box, yeah. Like this is the Knoll sprue that I'm like looking for one that's still complete here. The Knoll sprue for Frostgrave, not Stargrave.
Okay. Yeah.
And like it's the same. And like so like you see like you can see all the optional heads in Frostgrave. You get less optional heads because they're more dedicated. But so like these are all aliens up here mostly, and then humans, then helmets down here I think, and then like weapons options. So like each of these guys has 2 different arms options or 3, but and they're all like this. All their plastic kits are like this, where you'll get a bunch of guys. I don't know. You could probably pull that down now.
Yeah, I get the gist of it.
Oh, it didn't. You didn't. Sorry. I didn't notice that the window didn't switch. Let me.
All right.
Well,
guys, I'm head off. You take care.
Okay, party
See
on.
You all, man.
Party on, Omina. Sorry. You want to pull that up?
Sure.
I opened the sprue page and didn't realize it didn't switch over when I did that. So this is a much clearer look. You see how much so
that's a lot of extra doodads.
A lot of extra doodads. So this is like the front and then the back of the same sprue. So you can see, and it's like a lot of spare bits. That's what I was doing on Thursday, was cutting off all the spare bits from sprues and putting them into a drawer, so they're not like this large sprue sitting in a box takes up a lot more space than
I would go with like pill bottles or something like that. Or some of the little boxes with lots of little dividers and shit.
They sell these at the dollar store near my place. They're like $3. So I'm just chucking these full of fucking arms, then spare bits, and then just shit I'm working on down here. So
that works.
Do that.
What does it run for 20 figs?
Canadian prices, I think it was like $30, but it's much less for you guys, obviously, right?
Well, it's in the UK, isn't it?
Yeah, I bought them at a hobby store. It's okay. £20 for a box, so whatever that is for you. The box I just showed you, it says £20 on their website.
Okay, I'll look it up and see what it is.
Yeah, it's probably like $30.
It wasn't too bad on the shipping for the box they sent me. It was about this big for 5 blister packs. So I definitely liked what I saw. and the way they package things. And I'll take a look because I'm always in the market for sci-fi figs more than just about anything else because I've got so much of everything else. Although I am looking forward to the new Star Slot arrivals.
Those pirates that I did are also from Frostgrave Ghost Archipelago, which is the spin-off of that. You liked those pirates I showed you a while back, so I remember these.
Okay.
Yeah, this is also right, and it comes the same way. Right, all of them are the same. Right, the same kind of setup where it's the body ahead and then optional arms.
Right, but the bodies are in slightly different poses, I assume.
They're all in slightly different poses, but they're all the same size. So if you get this box, and then you get the one I showed you, the whatever the crew, the space crew, Stargrove space crew, the parts would be interchangeable, right? So if you wanted to have your space guy with
A cutlass.
with a cutlass and a shield or whatever, you could just grab the spare bits from doing this box and glue them onto that, and it would be
that is a smart business model.
perfectly adaptable, right? Like the only sprues I've seen that have any possibility of not working so well is the knolls, right? That's what I'm putting together right now, because they have like the wolf neck, so you'd have to fucking mangle that to put a human head on it, because they all have like the neck receiving joint instead of the reverse for the hyena head. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, that's what they are. Yeah.
Yeah, but the arms are all the same, right? So they're pretty much interchangeable as well. So like that's all spare bits pretty much, and I've still been taking weapons off of this for the next sprue.
Right.
So like you got like
that's a lot of extras. I think
and,
I got some minis from I think it was Warlord. I bought a box of skeletons. I didn't buy it. It was purchased for me by Jackie a couple years ago, and I'm still, God, they're so spindly. You literally had to glue the feet onto the skeletons.
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
like, you got to be kidding me.
I've had some stuff like that. But yeah, like definitely you want to have a bunch of decapitated heads on a spike. You definitely got leftover heads from these fucking things to do that. You know, like they got this.
All that stuff could, the only problem is like when I hate when like guns have a hand attached to them, and you want to. It's like, well, I'm never going to use this. I'd use the gun, as like, like if I was building a table, I might put a gun on it, like it was a work table or mounted to a wall piece. But when they've got the hands glued to them or molded into them, it's like, I'm never going to use these 18 extra arms with, AK-47s, unless I make some sort of, human centipede kind of thing, what am I going to use this crap for?
Well, they always do like this, right? Like it's always like this, and then like this is like this arm here is for grabbing the middle here.
So you could still use if you just cut off the axe handle, but with guns it's a little different.
Yeah, the gun will be in the arm, but the other hand will be like this instead, like this here. I haven't put the head on this yet, but this hand here, like, was the one I was gluing when I said, "Give me a minute, I have something to fiddle with," because the hand on the pommel is just like this, right? It's open, so you don't have to deal with that. But the one holding the bastard sword or whatever you call that, And I'm gonna have 3 of these for my bit box because I'm gonna use the one for the unit, right?
Okay.
So, like, if I want to use this kind of sword for anything else, like, I've never seen a sword quite like this in anything before,
Really?
right? Like, you always get like the fancy tip, or they're shorter. They'll be like this long, or they'll be like super thick. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but one like quite like this, even though the tip is obviously broken off because it's a Knowles weapon, I could reshape that easy with the
Just
other.
a file or something.
Yeah. Um, but I got 3 spares of them from this box that just in my bits box now, right? You know, and
That's one of the things I got to do this spring is go through everything and reorganize everything in my garage.
yeah.
I'm sure my bits boxes are going to take up easily 2 cubic meters of.
Well, it's like I say, take the stuff off the sprue, right? If you've got it on the sprue still.
No,
No, you
but I do
don't.
have a box full of empty sprues.
Yeah. I'm thinking of grinding it down into a powder and then doing the
Sprue goo.
like just like having a box of it in powder form so I can sprue glue. And then maybe I'll make like I'll 3D print some molds for walls for Tudor
Yeah,
style
I
houses.
actually used sprue goo in silicone molds,
No,
and
it's too soft. The silicone
yeah,
molds are too soft. You need that. Like, this is like a hard plastic, right? The resin. So I'm thinking about
yeah. But what's
making.
going to keep it from sticking to the hard plastic? The acetone that you use to make the sprue goo is going to melt the hard plastic, is it not?
No, it's resin. It's not. It's not polystyrene.
Okay.
So, well, I could take some extra resin first and test it. You think I
Yeah,
should, but
just print off a sheet
well,
and then just
you got
drop on.
scraps, right? There are plenty of scrap pieces from
Okay.
manufacturing, like the supports. When you make stuff, you have to put supports in, so
Yeah.
you end up with a lot of that lying around. But I
Yeah,
was
because I
thinking,
tried some experimenting with sprue goo, and there was a lot of things you just couldn't do with it.
yeah, it's very soft in detail if you don't leave it long enough. But like I'm thinking is like Tudor style houses with the wood and the lap board and stuff like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Making some negative molds and then just filling it with sprue glue and pushing it together and letting it sit for a week and see if
Yeah,
that would
it
work.
does take a long time to cure.
Yeah.
A long time, and I made a bunch of pieces with it, and it's great if I need like terrain
But
that looks like it's been melted or something. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Like it's been hit with acid or just high intense heat, and now the walls are kind of droopy and stuff. But I
Or if
don't
you're
know.
doing rocks. Yeah,
Rocks should
like
probably be literally
yeah,
your best bet.
rocks.
Is make molds for rocks, but I would never do that because I'm going to use real rocks whenever I can. We've got
Well,
hundreds of pounds.
if you're throwing the sprues out anyway, you know.
Yeah, well, I'm going to throw them out. Although I keep like the clear plastic sprues and things like that because I find that I can actually use that stuff. Or if like sometimes a sprue will have like a piece in the middle where it's got like a cool little design or something, and I'll cut those out and save those. Like this. Like they've got this little brown thing in the middle, and it looks kind of
Oh yeah.
cool. I was like, I could use that for something. I don't know what, but otherwise, I'm just gonna toss out the big empty box and start a new one with the stuff that I have. But I like to keep the clear plastic because I can turn that into like crystals or icicles or things like that, or bits of lava
Mhm.
or whatever, because it's a completely different look to it. It's not just gray goop,
Mhm.
but yeah, I've got a big old box of sprues, and I'm like, why am I saving these? I tried the sprue goo, and I'm never going to run out of incoming sprues, so I really don't need to save them. And that will
Yeah.
clear up. I've got a box. I kid you not. It's like this big, full of sprues, and I'm like, that's going out in the garbage.
Yeah. Well,
Sorry.
I'm definitely gonna try and see if I can make like a hard mold that will, like, even if I have to,
I think it's kind of like if you've
because I
got the right mold release, it
mhm,
might give you a buffer. Otherwise,
mhm,
I don't know that it. I mean, because if it was made out of the same stuff, it's just going to melt and stick to it. Because
mhm.
that you're not going to be able to dry it enough to remove the acetone from
Yeah.
the goo.
Well, e-
And
every time I see people trying to mold something with it, they're either trying to mold like a big chunk of it, or their molds are too flimsy to hold, right? So,
you might try.
mm,
I was going to say Legos, um, but you know what? You might be able to use the sprue goo for. I just thought you might be able to use it to actually make the molds of things. You know, if you
well,
don't mind
yeah.
breaking the mold to get it out.
Mm.
You know, for certain things, you might be able to use it for that, or just uh, the other thing I thought of was get two big sheets of like two silicone baking tray mats and a
Mhm.
big and two pieces of wood and just pressing the sprue goo into brand new sheets of plastic just to make
Yeah.
like plastic card of varying
Mhm. Yeah,
thicknesses.
yeah, yeah, yeah. A plastic card, and definitely if you could etch the surface like brick or whatever of the.
Oh yeah, if you definitely wanted to make like cobblestones or something like that, and
Mhm.
you know get a flat like uh, sheet of plywood or better wood as the bottom, put some silicone down, and then make the top half engraved with a cobblestone pattern or something, or maybe just using um, the rolling pins from uh, Green Stuff World.
Yeah, I wouldn't get from them.
But
I,
you know what I mean.
I could print those, but yeah. Um,
And if you do it quick and pull it up and just let
well,
it dry, you might be able to
that
get
I've
something.
seen that done where you lay out the sprue goo, let it sit for 4 or 5 hours, then roll it, and it does come out. I've seen that. There's a
Well,
guy
I
on
was
YouTube
thinking
that does
of
that.
pressing it with wood. You know, the
Yeah,
bottom is wood, and then you put a big, huge plank of
yeah.
wood on it, and
To get a
just
nice flat layer, yeah. Definitely making plastic card would probably be good. You probably run it
if
through a
you're never going to
roller.
run out of uses for that. If
Yeah.
you've watched Armstrong with what he could do with plastic card, oh my God,
Hmm. Hmm.
that guy's a freaking genius.
Yeah, plastic card is definitely universal. Mm. But the thing is, a lot of that kind of stuff, like, I could just design it in 3D print flat plan stuff. So
Right, but
yeah, definitely.
when times are
Oh,
tough, and you're running low on funds,
yeah,
there's nothing like taking lemons and making lemonade, so to speak. That's
yeah.
you know one of the joys of crafting in this hobby is that you can take junk and turn it into something
Hmm.
amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Being able to make stuff out of just crap you have lying around is always more beneficial than having to buy something new.
Yeah, I just picked up some of those trees from the dollar store, and for the Christmas, and then I actually picked up. They made these the same. They took the same trees but made them orange and turned them upside down for like carrots, I guess, for Easter.
Okay.
Hold on, they're right here.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the carrots. Okay,
Yeah, I see what you mean.
just
Uh,
turn them
uh,
over, and I got orange trees. I'll cut
yeah.
the tip off here, and glue it to the bottom there, and then they've got the
Yeah.
three fly.
And it's
Christmas trees.
literally the same fucking thing. Just
Right,
made
right.
out of different color.
And the way I figure it is, I want my worlds to look fantastic. Well, now I've got a bunch of orange trees to make it orange. One little piece of terrain. It's got orange trees. Why? Because it's
demon
not Earth.
trees.
Well,
Demon
it's just not Earth.
trees.
Always going on about why everything's got to be like Earth. Well, because that's the only place we can film on. I get it, but in
it's
fantasy,
because we have a good terraforming program and you don't, you stupid Xeno scum.
so I will have some orange trees. I'm actually to try and pick up a few more because it would look better. Not to mention, in the fall, I know pine trees don't do that, but maybe on this planet there's some orange trees that are a regular thing, and nobody says anything about it. And it would also make for an interesting situation, especially in a sci-fi game. Well, the forests are orange, so your camo pattern isn't going to do squat.
Now question. You ever put sprue into like a coffee grinder?
No.
I was just wondering if because I don't want to go out and buy a piece of equipment and then find out it's no good.
No, I usually what I do is I either cut it and then throw it in the sprue goo, or I just, like if I find sprues that have like actually really nice like beams that don't have a lot of points where they actually met the pieces. If there's like long beams, I'll definitely cut those out and save those. But for the most part, I would just get a really good set of clippers and just clip it into really small pieces.
Yeah.
And then you can fit it in a jar and go, okay, I think I got enough. I can toss the rest. Until I empty the jar, what's the point of hanging on to the rest?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking the closer it is to a powder when I mix it, the more the thinner it will be. The less actual acetone I'll need to use at the same time to break it down. So the less we'll need to evaporate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
it doesn't take long though. That stuff starts melting right away.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like it's the saturation point. I'm more thinking about that way. That way, there's less acetone for the mold to need to vent.
Well, one thing, it's
some experimentation will be needed.
It's going to evaporate quick.
Yeah, so, it does that.
Maybe get like, make a process of, pour the sprue goo out on something, strain, as much of the acetone back into the jar because you can still use it. Then, pat it dry with paper towels, and then, stretch it out or whatever. Do it again, roll it out or whatever, and let it dry for a little bit, not too long, otherwise it will get like a hard coating.
I'm definitely going to try my thing with making a mold for like a Tudor style wall, like the stucco, because like this was 30 cents worth of resin, so I'm not worried about like if it doesn't work and it fucks up. I just
and if the mold doesn't work,
then I try making sheets or whatever, or just give up because I'm not super concerned about it.
Because I have these silicone molds. I actually sold one on eBay last week, but I like when I want to do stuff like that, I'll buy the dental plaster, Merlin's Magic. It's a little messy, but
that's kind of what I'm thinking about, like because I had the Linka molds for the brick and stuff like that, right? I'm thinking like not that universal, but like
mine were her starts, but yeah,
her starts still as well as good. But like a 2-piece, like actually pushing the.
I know I can do 1-piece molds all day. I've made them with blue stuff. which is a little. It's probably not as good as silicone, but
blue stuff's good. I've made 2-part molds out of blue stuff.
I can never get the 2-part process down.
Okay, so the trick with that is to, like, say you have the legs, because that's what I did it with. Was a set. I had a model that had two torso options, and the torso had the head, so it just needed the same leg. So I needed 2 the same leg. I put the legs into the mold, right? Just a little over half, and then I popped them out. I trimmed it flat with a knife, and then I pushed the legs back in as close to, like, I very carefully got them in. It was dry, like I let it dry, and then I cut 2 little divots in, or I did it before with an eraser, like a normal eraser, so it's like a key, and then I heated up the next batch and put it on top. And I don't even think I needed to cut the end flat. I could have just kind of tapped it flat with my finger. That way, it created the 2 parts. Just, you gotta really push the second layer down to push into the sides. And you'll have to do some cleaning on that, but not much, especially if it's not got a lot of detail along the sides of the, you know what I mean? Like, if it's like a guy wearing pants or whatever. This was a modern military figure, so it was easier to clean that up. Yeah. But yeah, you just kind of put the thing down, let the first half cure, and then put the second half on top. Yeah. And then, of course, let that cure as well.
Because I've had some great results with I had this really great archway made by the Mutant Chronicles people back in the day. One side it's all skulls, and on the other side it's something else. And I made a mold, but I couldn't do the 2-part thing, so I just made one, filled it with dental plaster, and so it's just a flat one-sided archway. And then I did the other side, and I couldn't put them together like it was before, but I have several copies of this really cool sort of skull archway with hundreds of skulls, and it came out
okay. So you see this horse head. This is like a Bretonian cavalryman or something like that. This piece would go for a blue stuff molding perfectly, because it's like
got the flat bottom.
It's got, well, it's not even the flat. It's the seam line
Is right on the top.
So you would push
so
it
you
down.
Use the seam line as a marker.
You use the seam line as the seam line for the two halves of the mold, like it's supposed to be used. You put the first half in, let it cure, and then put the second half on top, let it cure.
Because that blue stuff is freaking amazing. I've made so many cool things.
Once you're done, like, you pop the 2 pieces apart. That's why you want to key it. Just stick your fucking finger in the first half, right? And it'll key. And then you pop this out, throw it back in your bits box or the kit it comes from, and fill it with your green stuff or your resin, or whatever the fuck you're filling it with, plasticine, plaster. It doesn't matter.
I use the dental plaster. I like the liquid stuff because it's better to keep out air bubbles.
Yeah,
and it's easy to work with, and I'm already working with it from time to time.
Yeah,
and you just take the plaster, add a little of it, add a couple of the right amount of water, and boom. And until you need it, it stays. I've had
there's a powder or whatever.
Yeah, it looks like a bag of flour.
Yeah, I know. Like, I showed you the plaster of Paris. I pretended it was Coke.
You just gotta have a place that's not going to get ruined by splatter of the plaster on your tile or something like that. And If you've got one of those back massagers, you put it on the mold on a table, hit it with the back massager until the air bubbles pop out.
Or you
or
just do
rise to the top.
this, you tap it.
You've got to have something that's very fast and very.
Well, they used to teach you to just tap the desk consistently.
No, it really isn't enough. You need the agitation.
I agree with you, but if you don't got it,
you'll
be hitting it for a half hour straight.
Yeah, literally, and the stuff cures in 7 minutes.
Yeah.
So you don't have a lot of time either.
Yeah.
I mean, that stuff, it was amazing. The first time I was using it, it was like, oh my God, it's done. I was expecting, an hour, 2 hours. No, and if you throw it out.
Well, you got good stuff then.
Yeah, I do.
That stuff I got is plaster of Paris, like proper plaster of Paris.
This is
dental.
When you go into the dentist and he makes a mold of your teeth, it's that
Hydrocal. That the Hydrocal.
Yes, it is. And some of it, depending on the shape of whatever you make, is incredibly strong.
Mm-hmm.
But the bigger thing you make, the easier it is to actually break. So when you're using the little Herstarts bricks and things like that, you can take 2 pair of pliers and you're not going to break it. You might grind the edges, but you're not going to snap it.
Now, a trick with that is you can get like a polyfill. It's like little fibers, right? It's kind of like fiberglass.
Well, it's like what you used to make the smoke things we were talking about the other day.
Yeah.
What you stuff pillows with, right?
No, not the polyfill that you stretch out for. You can get, it's like fiberglass. It's like little strains of plastic. And it comes in a sack. You pour it in there. You mix it up like you would normally, and it's like reinforcing it with rebar.
Okay.
So if you're making something big, it's got these little fibers in it now that are.
I can see that.
Like adding little bits of material strength, like structural, like torsional strength.
Right. And if it does break, it's not going to fall in a million pieces.
No, I'll give you time to hit it with some glue or whatever, because it's like there instead of like there.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
If I ever, do that again.
Do that shit again.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep doing dental plaster for really small things, but I was making Herstarts dungeon walls and floors, and that shit was as heavy, if not heavier, than
no, I think
forge.
It's like concrete, right? It's like it's plaster. It's like you're literally a rock.
Lasers, and I'm done with the trying to make plaster walls and floors. Screw that. That I still have it all left in my garage, and to be honest, I'm probably just going to toss it. It would cost more to ship it to somebody than it's worth.
Yeah,
because I mounted it all to nice finishing boards, and it's just brutally heavy, and I didn't even get enough to fill. I didn't even make enough terrain to fill a 2.5 by 2.5 foot table. It's just like took forever.
Yeah. I was really looking at those Herstart space sets for a while. And it's like,
I've got them all. I had them all, and I'm slowly selling them off. Some of the stuff is actually, that's what the best thing. If you're gonna buy it and plan on reselling the molds, because I bought the molds for between $25 and $35, and I'm selling them for $30 on eBay. People snap them up because I'm done. I got what I needed. I made it. It's not going to break. I made a lot of doors and crates and pylons and all kinds of cool stuff for scatter terrain and things like that, and walls that I could, do things with. And I don't need any more.
The sad thing about that is, like, you could get a 3D printer. You can get like a $200 resin 3D printer, and if you need barrels or buckets or crates, like it's not just you don't anymore. It's that there's so many varieties that you can freely get like you would never have two of the same fucking crate. You'd never have two of the same barrel. You have thousands of them. You could literally get like a like one of those big Rubbermaid bins just for throwing loose crates into.
Yeah,
Control panels and
I went through
doors.
my collection. At one point, I had like 50 different treasure chests and 25 different barrels and crates. It was the sci-fi containers that I needed, and I made up a crap ton of them, and I'm good. Unless I need something bigger, like a cargo container, but things that are like that would look like they're about a cubic meter, compared to a 28 millimeter dude. I got tons of that crap, but the bigger ones, I'll just make those out of corrugated cardboard and.
Well, it's like that. The fucking transport container. There's some beautiful like cargo containers, like the ones that they make those mini homes out of that you can just 3D print pieces of, and they have like
just don't try to bury those cargo containers and think you're gonna live underground.
no,
they buckle like tissue paper.
They're not structurally sound.
No.
You could probably use one as like the pre-shell for putting down a concrete frame, but not as like a structure that's permanent.
Nope. As soon as you cover it with enough dirt, it will buckle.
Yeah. Well, they're not like literally
not meant to do that.
The reason why they have the corners are designed the way they are, so they interlock with each other because their strength comes from having like 30 of them attached to each other. Otherwise, they're not structural whatsoever. Yeah, no. People don't do research for anything, man. But you said you wanted to go a half hour ago, so
no worries, man. It was good talking to you. I will see you.
I could go for another 3 hours. So.
Yeah, no, I gotta do some stuff.
I got something flying in my room. I don't like that. Okay.
All right, man. I'll see you tomorrow. Everybody out there in TV land, thanks for sticking along, hanging out with us. You guys were great tonight. I will see everybody probably Monday.
Well, I'll see you tomorrow afternoon or evening for me.
Cool. It looks like we're gonna have everybody for game time, which is gonna be interesting. But I'll see you tomorrow, man. Everybody else, I'll see you guys Monday. Take care and God bless.
Party on.